So far, so good for the Louisville Cardinals. In fact, their offense hasn't sputtered all year. It's really been the defense that's been a problem, Charles. But I think right now, Louisville's looking good. We're at Carter Finley Stadium, Raleigh, North Carolina. The Wolfpack trying for an upset over Louisville. Louisville stumbling a bit at 2-2, Charles.
Yeah, they are, and I think that's the thing. They really need to get their offense going, but they're worried about their defense. That's really been the problem for them this year.
A talented offensive line and a terrific quarterback, senior in Brian Brom. Here comes the blitz. They run away from it with a big tailback, Anthony Allen, and he goes forward. Today's starting lineups brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. First for the Louisville Cardinals, Eric Wood, the All-American candidate from Cincinnati. A junior, went to Elder High School, and he is rock solid. For Brian Brom, lots of talent. Anthony Allen is the big hoss in the backfield. Jawan Spillman, probably the go-to guy with Harry Douglas, benched today because of that sprained ankle. Unable to go. Ninth play of the drive. Second down. Brom again with loads of time into the end zone. Did he get his feet down? No. Couldn't touch him down. That was Mario Urrutia.
Well, this is a guy that was going to be benched early on. They get the play fake, and then they get to the back of the end zone. And look at that throw by Brom. Good throw. Urrutia comes down out of bounds. If he could come down with his other foot, his right foot, he would have been inbounds. He has struggled this year, Doug, at making the normal play. Now, Urrutia can make some outstanding catches, but sometimes it's just the easy catches that he lack of concentration right there. You never let the end line get you out.
Urrutia, another one of those good-looking receivers, 6'6".
The previous play is under review.
And the play will be reviewed because that was awfully close. I thought Urrutia had a foot in. You only need one in college. And so they're reviewing that. Jack Childress, the veteran ACC official who's worked our last 3 games on the U, will review that.
The real key is that he get the other foot, the left foot was out.
Hit out first, you're right.
And that's what I looked at. Look at his left foot. Left foot is going to come down out. If he comes down with his right foot, see, boom, and then the other foot. And that's what you're taught. Stay a yard or half a yard away from there. You want to stay, look, with the end of the white in the end zone where the Wolfpack is painted. Your coaches always tell you kind of stay in between there or close to there.
The call on the field has been confirmed. It is incomplete.
So the play on the field stands as called. Tom O'Brien, a disciplinarian, to say the very least. As we talked to him yesterday, I had to sit up straight. I was at attention with Coach O'Brien. I mean, he's a tough guy, Naval Academy guy, and we'll tell you some terrific stories. Of course, he tutored under Steve Belichick, Bill Belichick's dad, who was about as tough as they come. And, of course, George Welsh spent many years with Welsh. No-nonsense coaches. All right, Brian Brom, 3rd and 7. Trips to the right. Back to the ground. Anthony Allen, untouched into the end zone. The big hoss puts Louisville on the board.
Well, what they do, Doug, is they spread it out, and they give them an opportunity to go against less guys in the box. And what it is with Anthony Allen, you got to respect Brian Brom and the trips to your right. You're going to see right there. Stop it right there. Now, everybody's inside, you see, and then the linebacker goes in, Brom with the play fake, and they get outside, but they have trips to the other side, so there's less guys out there to make sure to stop Allen.
Art Comedy, they call him Artomatic, the left-footed kicker. Luke Rosa winner a year ago. Boots it through, and Louisville just like that in the opening drive. That was an impressive march as they lead 7-0. Brian Brom had all day. And then a little trickery, great play fake, touchdown Louisville. Louisville on top 7-0. Art Carmody, the senior from Shreveport, the Luke Groza winner a year ago. The new NCAA record now, 227 career PATs. Looks like a backup quarterback, huh?
Pretty big guy.
How about this guy, Darrell Blackman, 99-yard kickoff return last week against Clemson, the longest in school history, and it was a spectacular run. The last 10 yards, a big stiff arm. And we talked to him yesterday. This guy's a cool customer. I like him.
He's got a great understanding of the game, but he also just likes to have fun, too.
Let's see if he can do it again, or at least get NC State in good field position. That time he muffed it a bit. He'll pick it up at the 3-yard line. And he goes down inside the 5. Just a 2-yard return for Darrell Blackman. Let's look at that return from last week. In fact, the buck stops here.
Well, you got to look at how fast Darrell Blackman is. He gets if he catches it clean, he's going to go. Now, you're going to watch a track guy, Jacoby Ford from Clemson, not get the angle. Look at him. You think he has the angle. The only time I saw Tom O'Brien smile was when he talked about this play. Look at Darrell Blackman, stiff-arming him all the way to the house.
Yeah, he has that extra gear, even though he muffed that kickoff. This guy, he can flat-out play. First-team All-ACC as a return man. Harrison Beck looking for him in the crossing pattern. Marcus Stone couldn't hang on. Stone was the former quarterback, now a tight end. Let's check into the field with Melissa Knowles.
Now, guys, I mentioned earlier that NC State has been plagued by a lot of injuries. Now, of the 10 guys I had on my list prior to the game, only 2 of those guys were cleared for play. That was Miguel Scott and Demario Presley. As a matter of fact, one of the trainers told me that they've already had 9 knee surgeries this season. So, looks like it's going to be a tough one going there for NC State, guys.
Yeah, bad luck and a tough schedule equals that 1-3 start for the NC State Wolfpack. Beck hands off to Andre Brown. The big man over the left side picks up 3. And Brown is well built, well put together. Does have that injured thumb, and we talked to him yesterday. He said it isn't bothering him too much. Harrison Beck, those are his numbers. The transfer from Nebraska. Worked under 3 different offensive coordinators now 3 years in a row. So this young man really is in the early stage of his learning career.
Yeah, really trying to get a better understanding of how to play the game of football at the college level.
NC State only 34% on third downs this season. The dump over the middle, John Dunlap gets close. I think he got the first down.
You know, I like what they're doing with Beck also. He has a very lively arm. And Marcus Stone almost came up with that first catch, one hand. But he really does a good job of getting it to Dunlap for the first down.
Let's look at the starting lineups for NC State, brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. There you see the offensive line. The big man up front, Luke Lathan, is the senior from Fleming Island, Florida. The centers in this game are very good. Darrell Blackman, we've told you about. Andre Brown, the big stud in the backfield. Beck on the rollout. Marcus Stone, the former quarterback, now tight end. Nice pickup. Stone is a guy who's well put together, and he kind of grew into that tight end position up front for Louisville. A lot of changes that they try to get something going. Willie Williams and Rodney Nett drawing the start today. Lamar Miles in the middle, makes a lot of tackles, and he's a strength guy. He holds all sorts of records in the weight room. And in the secondary, hey, it's just a matter of who gets the shot this week. They're trying all sorts of combinations.
Kind of like a good recipe, trying to mix it up.
Absolutely. We've had a lot of good stuff to eat today. On second down, NC State going for another first down, and they get 2 in a row. That was a pretty play. Let's check in with Mike Leach and Steve Israel in the studio.
Well, Doug, the Wildcats of Kansas State trying to duplicate last year's feat when they beat Texas. Josh Freeman, Jordy Nelson. Wow, nobody around there fights his way in, breaks the plane. 7-0 Wildcats on top. BC by 3 over the Minutemen of UMass. Andre Callender says, not anymore, guys. He pounds his way in. It's 24-14, Eagles by 10. Doug?
The beat goes on for BC. Coach O'Brien's former team. Andre Brown gets knocked to the ground. Louisville trying to get some spark on defense, because clearly that's been the serious area of concern.
I agree with you. Not right there on defense. You can see Lamar Miles had 22 tackles versus Kentucky. Just another one right there. We'll call his name all game.
And a lot of people wonder why Tom O'Brien left BC for NC State. As he explained to us yesterday, loves this area because he coached in Virginia with George Welsh for many years. They have a summer home in South Carolina. And he just thinks this is a sleeping giant. Beck with time, hanging in the pocket. That's incomplete. Looking for Matt Kushner, his tight end. Young quarterback did a nice job there. Tom O'Brien really was very proud of what he accomplished at BC, and he thinks he can do it following the same blueprint here at NC State.
Well, he really does, and I think he feels like, he said every time Boston College wins, it's good for me. If we could do it at BC, why not here?
Why not?
You know, and I agree with that. And they're using it in all facets, recruiting in the community, and I think that's why you see so many people excited about Wolfpack football.
3rd and 10. Back over the middle will be short. Found Andre Brown out of the backfield. Tackled quickly. Rodney Natt was there. 6-yard pickup. Bring up 4th down. And NC State, they knew they had to run clock. They had to control the football to keep Brom and company off the field. They got a couple of first downs, but now they're going to punt it away.
Well, the longer you let Louisville keep the ball, the worse it is for your offense and defense.
Bradley Pearson, they call him Sticks. Gets one up into the wind. Sends Trent Guy back to the 12-yard line. A 50-yard punt, no return. That's a weapon. That helps when you're trying to slow down this Louisville attack. Raleigh is a gorgeous city, and Louisville enjoying their stay, especially after that opening march. 10th place, 68 yards. Brian Brom, boy, that might be the easiest drive he's had all year. Doug Bell along with Charles Arbuckle, Melissa Knowles on the sideline. Brom had so much time in that opening drive. Goes back to the ground. Anthony Allen carries several defenders with him. And let's look at today's menu. Before the game, we were out tailgating a bit. Charles, myself, Melissa, and the rest of the crew. We'll tell you throughout the day about Tailgating 101. We learned so much today here at Carter Finley Stadium. The buck stops here. Of course, Charles will break things down only like he can. Old school diner, Tom O'Brien and company. Boy, they have chalked up the years in coaching. And today's special, Heisman stew. We'll stir that up a little bit. 2nd down and 4. They go back to the ground. Anthony Allen continues to put up huge numbers. There's the stiff arm. And he's knocked out of bounds. Anthony Allen is put together, 230 pounds out of Tampa. Here's what he did in the opening drive,
Well,
Charles.
let's take a look at him. He's got great ability to get down the field. He reminds me a lot of Roosevelt Potts, who I played with at the Colts. Same number, but same ability. And he gets in open field. He's a big guy at about 232 pounds, but he's a 3rd-degree black belt. And you know what they're averaging on 1st down? 6.5 yards. That puts you in a good situation. 2nd down, that opens your playbook.
That's almost too easy. Allen on the sidelines. Hey, I remember Roosevelt Potts. He was a big cat, Charles. Brown to the outside. George Stripling. He's brought down. Nice tackle by DeJuan Morgan. Let's check in now. The Wolfpack defensively, brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. A defense much like Louisville. They've had some good moments and some not so good. They're trying to find themselves. Allen Michael Cash, DeMario Presley will be very active up front. James Martin stands in the middle, has had a good year. Started the first 4 games last year, had some injury problems, but he's healthy now. And then secondary, Jimmy Sutton III. We'll tell you that story. Interesting family names there for Jimmy Sutton. 2nd down. Here comes the reverse. Juwan Spillman gets close to the 1st down marker. He's tripped up in the secondary. DeJuan Morgan again.
Doug, we saw a lot of this last week with Wake Forest when they come around. This is a nice little wrinkle that Louisville has now. You see guys out front. Look at Stripling out front blocking. You got people, Trent Guy, creating some space. And what it does is your defense starts looking down to the end zone, and then they got to run to the sideline really quick and get out of position.
Well, he almost gained 10 yards. It's very close, so they're calling the chains in.
You know, they don't run it a lot, and you're so worried about their vertical game, they make you worry about horizontally. Also, Mike Archer talked a lot about that. He said he faced them 4 straight years at Kentucky.
It is a 1st down, so it's a 10-yard pickup. On the reverse, there's Steve Cragthorpe. Did such a nice job at Tulsa, but before he was at Tulsa, he was well respected as an offensive coach, quarterbacks coach, worked with the Buffalo Bills, Texas A&M. R.C. Slocum can't say enough positive things about this gentleman. Steve Cragthorpe, really a nice guy.
He worked with one of my former offensive coordinators at UCLA, Steve Axman, who was the head coach at Northern Arizona. A lot of the principles that we ran at UCLA, you can see in this Louisville offense.
Coach trying to put last week behind him. That was a nightmarish performance against Syracuse. Almost intercepted. DeJuan Morgan was there, but just couldn't pull it in.
They have 1 interception on the year, and this is why. Whenever they have opportunities, their guys seem to freeze like deer in headlights. They don't make plays on defense. Now watch here, you'll see a chance, and it may have been out of the way, but they don't believe they're going to get the pick. Right there, you see, the ball hits your hands, that's where you redirect, you make the catch. And they haven't done that. They're all talking about it. Miguel Scott, we talked to him yesterday, DeAndre Morgan, who's playing, DeJuan's younger brother's in now, Jimmy Sutton. They have to make plays on defense.
Tom O'Brien says they lead the country in batted down balls. He wants a few picks. George Stripling over the left side, stretches for that first down, stays in bounds.
You know, the biggest thing also, too, is that they struggle, Doug, against the run. Last week, Spiller and Davis for Clemson had 340 yards. Stop it right here. Look, and you can see outside to your left, there's no defender there. They're all sucked in. Let it go. And then right there, great block up front by Joe Tronzo, and then that allows him to pick up those extra yards.
Again, it's very close to a first down.
We talk about gap responsibility. Guys have to be in a position to make those plays.
And it's a timeout. NC State. No, it's a signal. It is a first down. Okay, Jack Childress. The coaches ran onto the field for NC State as if it was a timeout, and Jack Childress now calls for another first down for Louisville.
But you can see right away they're so respectful of that inside zone play by Louisville that everybody's sucked in, and then he's able to get outside.
So 1st and 10, another first down for this Louisville offense. And they just continue to march right down the field. 7 first downs already. The fullback, Brock Boland, takes NC State with him. He loses the football. I think he was down on the ground. 12-yard pickup for the big fullback, who doesn't carry very often, but at 240 pounds, he is a load.
Well, Doug, the biggest thing is he's not touched till he gets to the third level. No one there. Great blocking up front. Look, he gets through a little gap. I like how Boland finds it. He doesn't get touched until he's down the field. Now, they're trying to pull it out. Jimmy Sutton pulled it out, but it was a little too late.
Boland from Germantown, Ohio, getting some pats on the helmet. And the guys along the sideline. That always feels good, huh?
Yeah. Well, for a guy that doesn't get the ball much.
Absolutely. 1st and 10, 8 first downs now for Louisville. Braun 3 steps to the outside. Beautiful play. Mario Urrutia. Big target at 6'6", 12-yard pickup. Another first down. Let's go to Mike Gleason in the studio.
Well, Texas, Oklahoma coming up next week, Doug, as you know. But Texas says, whoa, we're down 7-0 to K-State. Not anymore. Vondrell McGee gets in for the Horns at 7-7. Michigan State says, hey, no time for pounding. Look at this. Javon Ringer, is he fast? I don't think he's that fast, but he goes 53 yards. They're tied at 7 in Camp Randall. Back to you.
All right, listening to Coach Corso and Kirk Herbstreit this morning on game day. They had some interesting picks there in those games. A few upset specials along the way. Anthony Allen again over the left side, and this is too easy, Charles.
Well, Doug, what I see is a lot of guys that are getting blocked and not coming off of blocks. You know, you're just looking at the defensive line. That front 7, who they've made a lot of changes. Willie Young is in for Martrell Brown. And you know guys are going to rotate in, but they're not coming. They're not playing with an intensity level. They're not playing. You can see right there. The numbers don't lie. The eye in the sky, meaning when they watch film of this, and that's what they said. How do we challenge these guys to play to the level that they have to play to? Don't do anything great. Just take care of the smallest of details, and everything else will take care of itself.
10th play of the drive. 2nd down and 5. 2 tight ends. And they're big targets. Back to the ground. George Stripling, left side. Fighting his way for yardage. NC State is just good and pushed backwards.
Well, that time they had some pressure, and they got Audie Augustine to come through, and Martrell Brown. They have guys now that you got to find a way to make a play if you're the front 4. That's where it starts, Doug. Those front guys on the front line have to make plays, and if they don't, it makes everyone else look bad.
Crowd trying to get involved. The 12th man trying to help on 3rd down.
Louisville is a well-run machine, averaging 50 yards a game. 50 points a game.
A lot of red in the stadium today with these 2 teams. 2 tight ends. Brom with time over the middle. Overshoots his receiver. Gary Barnidge, who was open, a rare miss for Braum.
Yeah, Braum, look at him. He said, if I just follow through. See, the problem sometimes with Braum is he knows his defense isn't very good, but this is a deep end by the tight end. He's going to come in that middle area right by the umpire. You see, he threw it a little too high. Barnidge is 6'6". He's tall, but he's not quite that tall. But getting back to Braum, he feels like he has to make every play because their defense isn't very good.
40-yard field goal attempt for Art Comedy. 4 of 5 in the season. Had 3 field goals against Middle Tennessee, and that shootout is blocked. NC State blocks the field goal. That gets the crowd revved up. Gary Barnidge picks up the loose ball for Louisville. Something good happens for the Pack.
Well, if you don't get it on your defense, your offense is struggling, special teams have to come through. And that's where you got to be happy if you're North Carolina State.
And those guys are happy. They're turning red after that play. Louisville on top, 7-0.
Now we're here with Joey, and you can see the smoke coming out. I was drawn to this, Joey, because I figured you had ribs. See, you know how to do it. See, I wanted something that would give us a different flavor. We have some other things, so I'm going to get some of these ribs later, and we're going to check it out. But I want you to see these baby backs Joey's got cooking here. Look at this smoke. Look at it, baby. That's what I'm talking about. See, when you're from Texas, Southeast Texas in particular, this is how it's done right here. Joey, tell us what you use to kind of marinate it and all of that.
Well, I have hardwood coal on there, and I've yet to put any sauce on it. But later, I dunk them in red barbecue sauce.
How long do you let them marinate?
I don't marinate them at all.
Okay.
I continue cooking them once I put the sauce on for about 20 minutes.
Okay. Well, we're going to taste some of these. We're going to let you know how Joey does with this. I like it right here. You got to have the smoke coming on you, right, Joey?
Yes, sir.
Got all the family in the back.
Go Wolfpack.
All right, back to Blackman. A little smoke in the eyes of Louisville's defense. So that was a 12-yard pickup. But what do you think about these baby back ribs?
They're good. Joey did as well out there as up here. I like them. Thank you.
They look
thumbs
good.
Up, definitely.
2 thumbs up for those. And the jalapenos on those. Oh, man, that's awesome flavor.
Man.
That was
after
really.
After the game.
After the game, let's eat now. Back to the outside, wide open. NC State finding some gaps, as most people do against Louisville. That was a big play. Andre Brown comes out of the backfield 13 yards. First down, Wolfpack.
Andre was encouraged. We called him prime rib. And here's a guy that can do it in the backfield, but also receiving. Nice. You see that move right there? That little whoop, whoop, and then he goes by. He's able to do that. You look at him and say, man, he's not very quick. But Andre Brown has some quickness and some moves.
Back over the middle, wide open. Another first down. Donald Bowens, 14-yard pickup. Hey, Charles, I mean, you can't get any more open than the last 2 receivers.
Well, and this is the Louisville defense. They don't play very well. And then North Carolina State has been struggling offensively. Why not play them? They'll give you an opportunity to help yourself.
Bowens was the only true freshman to play for the Wolfpack last season. So he comes in with some experience at the wideout slot. Andre Brown runs into a wall of white jerseys. Gains 2 yards on that play. Let's push backwards.
Let's mention also his counterpart in crime usually is Tony Baker, who's out for the year, number 22. And we asked him about that yesterday, and he says he misses not having his, they had a healthy competition. One guy would do something, and the other would come back. And the interesting thing is he just said, I really miss Tony not being around. He's around, but he's not playing.
Yeah, Baker, one of the 9 players to have knee surgery on this NC State team, blew out his ACL against Central Florida in the opener. Back, hanging in the pocket to the outside. John Dunlap cuts back the other way. Whoa, gets a block. Finally gets tripped up.
There were 2 huge blocks. That play didn't go anywhere. But the enthusiasm you'll see from these guys for NC State, they had 2 crushing blows.
Adrian Grady.
Curtis Crouch was one.
Grady got popped by Marcus Stone.
Yeah, Marcus Stone, the quarterback who you can't say is soft. Watch 76. You'll watch this play out. But Beck has to get around there, and the offensive line has been much maligned. So here it is. You can see Dunlap coming all the way back. There's one block now, right there. Boom! Ooh. Helmet coming off. Now watch this. Marcus Stone. Boom! Another one. Woo! Wow. Hey, that didn't gain any yards. It gained 1 yard. But I'll tell you what. You got to always, and defenders, You're so used to, as a defender, coming after somebody, but they have to get their heads on a swivel in this kind of situation. Watch this hit. Yeah. There's one.
Oh, boy, that's Grady's down in the field right now.
No, Grady's coming there.
Ooh.
There were two, but those are the yeah, the buck will stop right there. That'll make you a little woozy. But see, the problem is most guys see Grady try. He's normally, guys say, I'm going to run off. And he tried to get up, man, but he couldn't.
Grady's a guy who's had injury troubles while at Louisville, so you hate to see that. In last year's game against Kentucky, first game of the year, broke his fibula. And finally he's healthy.
Yeah. And
now he goes down. Crushing blow there. Hopefully he'll be back in the game quickly. Jamel Eugene, a tailback now for NC State. Back into the end zone, intercepted. Louisville with a pick. Johnny Patrick, who got his first start today, the redshirt freshman from DeLand, Florida, his first interception.
See, and that's the problem you have. You get a good drive going, you get some nice blows, you got all verticals going, and Beck believes in his arm a little too much here. You can't make this throw. If you do, you have to get it down to your receiver there. Owen Spencer had no chance of catching that.
Patrick wears number 19, Charles. Johnny Unitas played at Louisville, but he was number 16, and so they've retired 16. Because I asked today, I said, surely they've retired Johnny Unitas' number, but Johnny, you wore 16 while he played for the Cardinals.
You talk about struggling to get interceptions. Louisville has as well. That's their third on the year. Johnny Patrick wasn't even playing. He's a true freshman out of Dayton, Florida. Like you said, he's now getting a chance to play because there's been so much turmoil in that secondary.
Well, that was big for Louisville. I mean, this was a defense that has just sputtered all season, and it appeared NC State was going to march in for the score, the tying score, but Patrick comes up with a huge play. Big momentum change. First and 10 now from the 20. Brian Brom and company. Haven't had any troubles moving the ball themselves. Back to the ground, Anthony Allen. Nice stiff arm, two stiff arms. Knocked out of bounds.
You know, Brian Brom does a good job of getting them out of a bad play here.
9-yard pickup. Ernest Jones ran him out of bounds.
You know, he did a very good job of checking them out of a bad play. And now when they run it, look at that offensive line. Look at that push. You know, Allen's not touched until he's about 6 yards down the field. That's not a play. Then right there, boom. Jones comes over, but Miguel Scott, we talked about it yesterday with Coach Archer, fitting in from that secondary position, that third level. You got to do a better job if you're Miguel Scott.
8 carries, 56 yards for big Mr. Allen, who carries again over the left side. They've run that play several times today, and he gets the first down for Louisville. Marcus Kuhn in there on the stop. Young man from Germany, wears number 62. Louisville trying to put the hammer down here and go in for another score. 7-0 Cardinals on a beautiful day in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's Tailgating 101 with Brian here at the Strut and Wolf Grill. What are you cooking up today?
We got hamburgers and hot dogs going on today.
What's the key with the heat, though?
Very slow cooking.
Got to keep it slow.
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 Yeah, slow.
The slower the better.
Slow.
Oh, yeah, that's what I like.
Everybody likes it slow.
Everything's slow.
Yeah.
Don't speed it up.
Hot dog.
I got a hot dog.
All right, Brian at the Strut and Wolf Grill. He left the bun a little too slow.
Well, I told him to take it off, and he was fussing at me. He said, no, you got to leave it on longer. I said, no, man, I like mine a little bit less done than that.
That's a burnt bun. But the burger was good, let me tell you that. And, yes, we brought a lot of food to the booth. Start of the second quarter now for Brian Brom and company, setting up that screen. Anthony Allen gets close to another first down for Louisville. And we've had so much fun. The tailgating here, they brag about it, and good reason for that, because it's the people get into it, and it's delicious food.
Well, I came over a little earlier to drop off some videos and stuff, and they were here then, getting ready. They were prepping then. That's why I knew it was going to be a good feature.
Yeah, we met a lot of great people today. We want to thank all of them because they literally rolled out the red carpet, the NC State red carpet for us. 2 thumbs up, the burgers. The bun was a little burnt, but the burger was great. No question about it. All right, let's talk a little Louisville football now because Brian Brom and company are looking good. And they might maybe got a spark there from their defensive play on that last drive for NC State. Anthony Allen flag down back at the 38. Let's check in with Mike Gleason in the studio.
Well, Doug, remember last year in that dismal season for the Buffaloes of Colorado, they hung tough in a lot of games. Here, 4th and goal, Cody Hawkins to Tyson DeVree, 24-17, Sooners up in the 4th.
Yes, Tashard Choice follows his fullback, big Mike Cox, in the end zone. That hamstring looks real good to me.
Georgia Tech fighting for their lives, up 7-3 on the Tigers of Clemson.
Second down.
All right, Glee, thank you, and thanks to Steve Israel, the Flash. Good job in the studio as always. Steve Cragthorpe doesn't like that call. Hold goes against Louisville.
You know, it's just like a change guy. You know, when they come out, I mean, you talk to Steve Cragthorpe and he's so mild-mannered, but on Saturdays, man, these guys take it up a notch. We talked about Tom O'Brien, the same thing. Very, very methodical, and man, they go off.
So second down and 11, and Allen had run for a first down. And back to the ground. Again, a gaping hole. Moving forward, Anthony Allen. That's an 8-yard pickup. Let's check in with Melissa on the field. What's it like on the NC State bench, Melissa?
Guys, I got to tell you, their cheeks have got to be hurting. It's gone from smiling to frowning to smiling to frowning once more. After that field goal was blocked, these guys are up on their feet and smiling and cheering and ready to get back in this game. But then after that interception, they're back to frowns, guys.
Well, it's been a season of frowns for NC State, 1-3. And as Tom O'Brien told us yesterday, when you look at their schedule, you throw in Central Florida, Boston College, Clemson, Wofford. Their only win was the team that beat Appalachian State last week. Pass to the first down, Gary Barnage. And there's a first down, moving the chains again. 8-yard pickup.
You know, you lose a guy like Harry Douglas, but then you know you have Gary Barnage, who's been there, tried and true. And he's a big target for Brian Brohm. You know, I talked about it a little earlier. Brian Brohm, you know, you think this Louisville offense is explosive, and they are, but they can take their time and methodically march down the field. They do a very good job of just kind of lulling you to sleep. This is an area right here where they like to throw that deep ball.
There you see Cragthorpe, who told us that Brian Brohm looks like an NFL quarterback when he takes his shoulder pads off. Big, burly-chested guy. Really the first offseason that he didn't work on rehabbing an injury. All he did was work on getting himself bigger and stronger, and he has.
Yeah, he really has. He's gotten himself in the weight room and really he always watches film, but he did a very good job of just getting himself in shape and ready for the season.
There you see Cragthorpe right in the middle and Charlie Stubbs in the back there. Big stories now in the Big East this week. As we check in on what's happening, of course, Bobby Bowden and staff, so many Alabama connections. First career game, FSU, Alabama later today in Jacksonville. South Florida last night, the big upset over West Virginia, the biggest win in their history, and that was huge. That sent all sorts of shockwaves through the BCS. Here's a team that could be playing for a national title if they go undefeated.
Hey, I tell you what, they believe in it. They've been thinking that for the last 3 years. I saw them a few years ago in 2005 versus Louisville. That was their biggest win then. Now they just had it last night.
Cincinnati Rutgers, a couple undefeated teams in the Big East. Of course, today, a ACC Big East Challenge, if you will, 4 head-to-head games. So lots going on in these two conferences. 1st and 10 now for the Louisville Cardinals. Anthony Allen lines up behind Brohm with 2 tight. Here comes the big man. Ran into a bunch of red jerseys. Good hustle up front, only a 1-yard pickup. Let's check back in the studio with Mike Gleason.
And we take you up to Madison, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Wisconsin, both unbeaten.
Yeah, Mark D'Antonio has his Spartans playing tough. J.U. Colquitt pushes his way in for his 2nd touchdown.
14-7, Sparty on top. Number 10, Rutgers at home against Maryland. Lance Ball keeps his balance, finds the end zone. 7-3, Terps over the Scarlet Knights. Doug?
Glee, I really thought Maryland would have a tough time bouncing back. They led 24-3 in the game we did last week at Wake Forest and lost that game in overtime. I thought that would be really a tough bounce back emotionally, but so far so good for the Fridge and his guys. First down, Patrick Carter, but another flag down right at the line of scrimmage. That was an 18-yard pickup. Carter, another big target, 6'3", 200 pounds.
Looks definitely going to go against Louisville in that area. That's the one thing that they've done this year to hurt themselves. Drives are going, and look at the bottom of your frame. You're going to see the hold at the very bottom. Briano Giacomini.
Personal foul for hands to the face. Number 63 in the offense. 15-yard penalty. Repeat the down.
That was against Danny Barlow. Got a hand up into the face mask of the defender. He's the left guard for Louisville, so that's a 15-yard personal foul, and that sends him backwards.
That really hurts you.
I mean, that's not a face mask, 5 yards. That's a personal foul, 15 yards.
Offensive linemen, when they go hands to the face, that's where they'll get that penalty. And Coach Crackthorpe is looking up at the sky to look at the screen, and they won't show it here at NC State. They're not going to replay that.
2nd and 24. That was actually hard to see. George Stripling to the ground. Picks up 3 yards. Demario Presley on the stop for NC State. Coming up tonight on ESPNU, first 7 Eastern, the Pitt Panthers against Virginia. Then at 10 Eastern, it's the Southern University Jaguars against Alabama State. The SWAC Conference, Saturday primetime college football presented by Citi on ESPNU. Crowd getting revved up. 4 of 5 on third down conversions, but this is their longest attempt at 3rd and 20. Brom calls timeout. We'll take a break. Not a cloud in the sky on this gorgeous Saturday in Raleigh. Louisville talking it over. You're watching ESPNU College Football presented by Allstate. Louisville on top 7-0. And it is a gorgeous day in Raleigh. Look at that guy. He's enjoying himself, huh? How do you get your hair that color? And look at that. That's an interesting hat. That must have taken him all morning to get ready, huh? Wow.
Put a lot of time into that.
And we got here early today on the loudspeaker. They're playing this Wolfpack howling.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And they let it go for about an hour and a half, that howl. 3rd down and 20. They've averaged 10-yard pickups on 3rd down. Over the middle, wide open. How about another first down? Trent Guy in the receiving end.
You know,
that was pretty.
When you're struggling on that 24-yard gain, when you struggle, this is what happens. You have the nickel package in, you don't get any pressure, and Brian Brom has all day. And look at this throw. Nice play by Trent Guy of going up and getting it. But there should be no way that he's wide open. You know they like to run those deep end routes, deep in the middle, and there's no one there to cover. So it's you can't give up that kind of play on third and long.
Guy is a second-year man out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And he's one of the players that Tom O'Brien would like to keep in the state. George Stripling runs over the right side.
Yeah. West Charlotte High School out of North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina.
There's Chris Redmond, the all-time leader in Louisville as far as passing yards. And that's who Brian Brom is chasing. I don't think he'll catch Redmond. But over the last 10, 12 years, Louisville has had some serious passers. Guys who could really put up numbers. Brian Brom, his brother, Dave Ragone, Jay Gruden. I remember Browning Nagel was the quarterback with Howard Schnellenberger when they beat Alabama in the Fiesta Bowl. Here's that reverse again. Jawan Spillman, they ran it earlier for a first down, and it goes for another first down.
Well, I talk about vertical game. Now they go horizontal. They just get that long play with Trent Guy, and it forces you back on your heels, and then they come out and spread the field. Watch this. Now, you got to respect Brian Brom, but you also have to respect this guy Spillman coming around. But look, he doesn't get touched until he's down about 7 or 8 yards.
They have a lot of weapons, this Louisville offense. They're not missing Harry Douglas, their leading receiver, out with a sprained ankle. 13 first downs for the Cardinals. They've methodically just marched up and down the field, but they lead by just a touchdown. Anthony Allen gets wrapped up.
But, Doug, that defense has been out there a long time.
They have. That was Ernest Jones. He is all over the place. Wears number 5, an unusual number, but he's the leading tackler for the Wolfpack. Senior out of Henderson, North Carolina, and we'll call his name a bunch. There he is.
You know, we talk about the defense getting tired. 3rd straight possession over 10 plays. So guys with the hands on their hips, you know, the offense is getting some rest, but the defense is struggling.
Brown to the outside. That's good for a first down. Jimmy Sutton on the stop. 8-yard pickup. Tom O'Brien, last week against Clemson, he said we just couldn't get off the field on defense and we couldn't get on the field on offense. It was a struggle against the undefeated Clemson Tigers.
And you don't want that to shape up 2 weeks in a row. You know, when you know you got a tough schedule early in the season, you got to find a way to have some positive results.
1st and 10, 13th play of this time-consuming march. Anthony Allen over the right side, big gaping hole, puts his head down, gets inside the 10-yard line.
You know, Doug, and after a while, the whys of why guys are getting tired, because you don't want to keep having these car collisions. That's 14 straight plays these defensive linemen have had to go, and you can see in the red zone. Look at Louisville. Woo, 24 of 25 times and only 4 field goals. 20 touchdowns. That's impressive.
That is.
You know, but look at NC State, 16-17 on the year.
I still think Louisville's going to be a factor in the Big East race, Charles. Their offense is just too good. They're going to beat somebody. Back to the ground, Anthony Allen. That time he gets wrapped up by Miguel Scott. Just a 1-yard pickup. We talked to Scott yesterday, a Miami kid. A bit on the cocky side. Fun to talk to. Was looking forward to the challenge today. Coaches are looking for him to elevate his game a little bit.
Well, we talk about trying to get turnovers, and this team is -9, and they need guys like Miguel Scott, who has the most experience coming into today's game. Over 1,300 snaps on the year, over his career, but only 2 interceptions in the career.
See, he's getting his guys fired up. When he walked in the room yesterday, he got me fired up. He's that kind of kid.
He's enthusiastic, man.
3rd down. Braum with plenty of time. Overshoots Urrutia, who was there.
That's the 2nd pass down in this area. Actually, the 3rd. The one to Urrutia that was out of bounds. And then the last drive where he missed the guy. Barnage real high, and then he comes back to Urrutia. You know, sometimes when you have super tall guys, you kind of tend to forget, and he doesn't follow through, and he keeps telling himself, finish. I'm not a quarterback, but you can tell by his body language he's not happy with himself.
He missed that one. A 27-yard attempt now for Art Carmody, the left-footed kicker out of Shreveport. The last attempt was blocked by NC State. This time he gets it up and over the outstretched arms through the uprights, and it's 10-0 Louisville. Art Carmody, 5 out of 6 on the season. A lot of high fives and smiles on the Louisville sideline. ESPNU Tailgating 101. We were out early today. We told you about the Strut Wolf Grill. Oh, man. The ribs, the kids, terrific atmosphere, lots of red. The Bear Essentials, great location, which you have right outside Carter Finley. Got to have the hot grill, great food, cold beverages, plenty of good friends, and team spirit.
And you got to have us and good weather.
Yeah, what a combination. I really had fun out there today. The people were so gracious. And they all watch ESPNU. They were Charles Arbuckle fans. Darrell Blackman fielded it cleanly right at the goal line. Gets up past the 20. Nice return of about 23 yards. He's averaging almost 29 on the season.
You know, when you return kickoffs like that, you become public enemy number one. And everybody, look, they got mad love for Darrell Blackman. But they do not want to be on the poster board of him taking it back.
Louisville has controlled the clock. Last week, look what Clemson did in that time of possession. And today at the bottom, you see Louisville over 19 minutes, NC State over 4 minutes.
But the bottom line, NC State is still in the ball game. Easily can turn that around.
If they can get on the scoreboard, Harrison Beck. The blitz came to the outside. Completed pass. He saw that blitz coming. 3-yard pickup to the outside.
We did a good job of just kind of waiting. He had to hold on to the ball and then get it out there. Malik Jackson coming in. But he barely got it off. But it's not much yardage. But look at the strong arm. We talked about he's on his back foot bailing out and still gets the ball right between the 2 and the 6.
Said Hickman doing his first action season on the receiving end there. The foot back to Jamel Eugene. And he gets tripped up. Nice tackle on the outside. Terrence Butler and company. Let's check in with Mike Gleason in the studio.
Well, Tyler Donovan, the down of the Spartans, he says, hey, I'm 6-0 as a starter here as the Wisconsin quarterback. Comes back, finds his tight end Travis Beckman, and they're tied up at Camp Randall at 14-14. Coming up on the Sports Center U halftime report, we'll update the ACC. Clemson, BC, both hoping to remain unbeaten. And could we be on the verge of number 9 and number 10, both being stung by the upset? And an update on that Cal-Oregon game, Doug, coming up at halftime.
All right, lots coming up. Some terrific matchups today. We have an injured player in the field for Louisville, and there was also a flag down after that last play. So we'll check both the player down and the flag. Crackback block against NC State is the call from Jack Childress. Johnny Patrick got his first start today for Louisville. He is down, the redshirt freshman from DeLand, Florida. He had the interception early in the end zone.
You know, that's their biggest problem. They already are playing a lot of different guys in the secondary. They moved Bobby Buchanan, number 34, to the free safety position. His older brother, Ray Buchanan, big play Ray, played with the Indianapolis Colts and Oakland Raiders. But the problem that they're having in that secondary, and a Louisville alum, as a matter of fact, Ray Buchanan, but they've, you know, Johnny Patrick's playing in for Whitney Terrain. Terrain had just started a few weeks ago and had struggled at that position.
Limping off the field, Johnny Patrick. Hopefully he will return. Mike Cassidy, in his 4th year as defensive coordinator at Louisville, enjoyed meeting with Mike earlier this week. A gentleman who started his coaching career back in the late 70s at Paducah Tillman High School, which is in the western part of the state of Kentucky, and known for their football prowess. In fact, I grew up in Paducah, Kentucky. Fun talking to Mike, reminiscing a bit. And he has confidence this unit will come back this season. He said, despite our troubles early, he goes, there's still lots of talent here.
Yeah, I mean, he thinks that they can make a comeback, but I think the biggest issue that he says with his team is that they have to do it sooner rather than later. They have to come on.
Because they're about to get into the meat of that Big East schedule.
And that's what his concern was. You know, as we get deeper into it, it's going to be a lot tougher for them to really come on and play. And the Big East is so strong right now. I mean, you just look at those teams in that conference just playing at such a high level.
There you see the Louisville defense a year ago, very opportunistic. In fact, they made big play after big play, but so far this year, the Middle Tennessee game really raised eyebrows because Middle Tennessee ran up and down the field on it.
Syracuse, the first play from scrimmage, Todd Smith goes up the seam and he gets a 79-yard touchdown. And that just breaks your back when you've worked on it. That's the one thing he said. He said, we worked on it. It was something simple. The safety got caught up and looking in the backfield.
Offense number 2. The penalty is refused. 3rd down.
All right, that was the penalty we told you about moments ago. It's taken a long time to get everything situated. So to bring up 3rd down, there's Steve Cragthorpe growing a little goatee. NC State has run only a couple of plays this quarter. Time-wise, it has been dominated by Louisville. 3rd down, Harrison Beck stays in the pocket and gets picked off. His 2nd interception, he threw it right to Rod Council. Council's first pick of the season. The young man from Charlotte, North Carolina, has Louisville in great position.
Rod Council ran that route. I mean, you knew Darrell Blackman had to get the ball in his hands. He hadn't had it from the receiving position. And sure enough, Rod Council, watch how he jumps this route. And Beck never gets off of him. Stays on him. He knows he's coming there. Rod Council, he looks like the receiver. You look at that. He stays right there with him. There's a 2-man route on that side. And Council came underneath quicker than Darrell Blackman did because he read where the quarterback was going.
2-year starter, Rod Council. And I think of what Dana Bible, the offensive coordinator for NC State, told us yesterday as you see the turnover numbers. He says sometimes we're pretty good, but sometimes we're inexplicably awful. And that was a good analysis of that last play. Handoff goes to Anthony Allen. He gets stacked up by Demario Presley, thrown for a 1-yard loss.
You know, bottom line, Doug, NC State has to make a play on defense. They have to get a turnover and take it back. And Allen is coming off the field with his shoulder. Looks like it's hurting.
See Presley there, the big man from Greensboro, self-taught martial arts expert. And he says, well, how good are you? He goes, well, I'm at least a 7th-degree black belt. Self-taught.
Well, he's been hurt all season, too. He cannot just seem to stay healthy for any period of time.
Well, he's a big man. Imagine getting kicked by him, 295 pounds. Brom over the middle. Goes to Urrutia. Let's check in with studio and Mike Gleason. Rutgers, what's up?
Well, Jordan Steffi finds Darius Hayward-Bay here, and the Scarlet Knights, number 10 in the country. Well, they won't be number 10 if they can't come back in the second half, is.
No, they won't be, but they have to pick it up.
Maryland, of course, trying to come back from back-to-back losses. And how about Cody Hawkins against Oklahoma? Justin Sprague, touchdown, 24-24, Colorado, Oklahoma, Doug.
Wow. That deserves a wow. Charles, I'm with you on that one. Oh, Charles looked at me like, what was up with that? Of course, Colorado, as Mike explained, played a lot of close games last year, got better at the end of the season.
They really did.
And Oklahoma could be looking ahead to that Red River rivalry.
Yeah, Texas has had their number for a few years.
Scott Long, the intended receiver. The field almost covered up, but there's a little spot there. The sun is in the corner.
Watch how the ball comes out of the shade. Look, you can't even see it on the screen. It's not clear, and then the ball just comes, and that's a tough area. You see the ball, and it's almost all shaded, but still a little bit of sunlight down there.
Art Carmody on for another field goal of 42 yards. Carmody. A beautiful kick. 13-0 Louisville. He's a weapon.
Yeah, he is.
Had one blocked, but most of the time, Art Carmody is the All-American. Roman Gabriel, former NC State Wolfpack quarterback. We walked through the Hall of Fame yesterday, which is just really, really a cool place. We checked out some of this vintage footage. And Phillip Rivers, the man from Decatur, Alabama and Auburn, didn't want to recruit him as a quarterback. Chuck Amato said, I want you as a quarterback. And he had an unbelievable career.
Yeah, he did. And, you know, it followed behind Roman Gabriel and some of the other greats here at NC State. Trying to get the program back up to where they were when Phillip Rivers was here.
Rivers was outstanding. Darrell Blackman, the return man, all-ACC return man. So dangerous, up to the 27.
I like when we asked him how fast he is. You know, I'm okay. Yeah, 4.3. I'm okay.
22-yard return. Yeah, he didn't want to brag, did he?
No, but when you see him go Jacoby Ford, who's a 60-meter guy in the ACC, outrun the angle, you're like, whoa. So we talked about game speed, and I think he said, yeah, I have game speed.
Yeah, we sat down with Blackman yesterday, Andre Brown, a couple of delightful guys, great personalities, and there he is, Andre Brown breaking free, showing some speed himself. Gets collared down at the 27-yard line. Big Andre Brown giving NC State a spark, a 44-yard run.
And he went behind Crouch and Mears Green. And you know what? He has that special gift, that explosion, speed, and power, ESP, and then also vision. Watch it. Look at the good blocking up front, and then just take it. All of the white jerseys are covered, and he does a good job of tucking it away, not getting the ball knocked out.
He only had 1 yard on the ground up to that point after the 44-yard scamper. They go right back to the hot man, and he gets, loses the football. Louisville says they have it. That would be the third turnover. And they do. Louisville comes up with a fumble recovery. On the bottom of the pile, big number 99, Earl Heyman, who was a big-time recruit out of Ballard High School in Louisville 3 years ago. And he comes up with a loose ball.
Well, and this has been the thing. You have a great play, and then you come back, and you lay the ball on the ground. Right there. You can see the ball come out to the left of your screen, barely in your screen now. And then big Earl Heyman, who moved over to the left end, gets that fumble recovery.
So NC State cannot get anything going after that great run. They cough it up. And that's exactly what Dana Bible was talking about. This offense just cannot consistently keep the good times going. Brom with lots of time, wide open. Urrutia was right there, and he just missed him.
Deep crossing routes they like to run with Urrutia and Barnage, but he overthrew that way. I think the wind has bothered him.
The Brom name so prominent in Louisville football history. When you think of Jeff, who is the assistant head coach, quarterbacks coach, saw him on the field before the game. He can still throw. Yeah. He was getting loose with the guys. And Greg Brom is the director of football operations.
Well, and his brother stayed around as a passing game coordinator for this offense, and like you said, assistant head coach. So he's got a chance to work with his brother. He's up in the booth now.
Brom back to the ground. Bolin gets collared. Just thrown for a 1-yard loss.
You know, last year he was on the field, so they moved him up. And you can tell Braum is really excited about playing very well. And he's almost he's not making those throws that he normally makes. That Urrutia was wide open on that crossing route, and he just missed him.
3rd down and 11. Take charge guy in the huddle. Crowd trying to make some noise to keep the pack in this game. Braum lets it fly. Has a man out deep at the 30-yard line. Patrick Carter. It goes incomplete. Let's check back into the sidelines with Melissa Knowles.
I got to tell you, the tone on the NC State bench keeps going up and down, up and down. I barely had time to make it over to the other side in the time that they turned the ball over again. And I heard a couple of the guys say, you know, we were just back in this thing. If we could just get another one of those plays, we could be right back in this thing. Guys.
All right, we'll see. Tom O'Brien doesn't change expression even when the good times are flowing. That's kind of what he looks like.
Yeah, he is very even-keeled.
And that's a good thing when things are going a little haywire like they are right now. Getchy, his first punt of the day, and Blackman calls for the fair catch up at the 41, a 34-yard boot, and we'll give him a 1-yard return as he ran out of bounds. Remember, Lo Galindo, Mike Godfrey, Tom Luganbill. It's Inside the Polls. Get the most in-depth look at the college football polls, plus a weekly Heisman watch. All that and more on ESPNU Inside the Polls, presented by 76, Monday night at 7 Eastern. Coming up at halftime on SportsCenter U, ACC highlights. Lots of action going on. Top 10 upsets, and the Bears and the Ducks. Completed pass. Back to Andre Brown. You know, Beck, you look at Beck, and here's a young guy who started at Nebraska. And, of course, they were running the spread there. Bill Callahan, and he had like 150 plays in the playbook. Comes to NC State. Mark Trestman was his offensive coordinator a year ago. As you look at the vision of the young man now, he kind of felt that pressure in the backside, but that was about 180 plays last year. I mean, this kid, what's going through his mind?
And he hadn't played a lot of football on the field.
Yeah, Dana Bible said he's not that smart. That was incomplete going to John Dunlap. We asked Coach Bible, how many plays do you have? And he said, I'm not smart enough to have 180 plays, guys.
Yeah, and I think he was really just saying, too, he's got a conceptual offense. It's not really one that you just think is play by play. He says guys have to understand where people are going to be. And Beck is still learning that, but it seems like he still has some things left over from the old offenses that he's gone through, and that's usually the case.
Ever since Phillip Rivers graduated, went on to the NFL, NC State's been in search of the right guy. And Beck has talent, there's no question. 1 for 4 on 3rd downs. Has another first down, Andre Brown. That's been an effective play as he's come out of the backfield.
Get the verticals going and then get him out underneath the linebackers and just catch it right there. Perfect job by Beck.
9-yard pickup. Preston Smith on the tackle. Old school diner when you think of Tom O'Brien. Look at the years in coaching for his staff. Wow, they've been around.
And they have, and these guys have been around the game, and they understand when you go through these highs and lows that they're going through right now.
Back, going deep. At the goal line, that was batted down.
It was a good play by Darrell Davis.
Yeah,
he made a nice play.
Yeah.
Rod Counsell was in position. Rod Counsell has played very well at the cornerback position.
And he's coming up limping a bit, so he hustles to the sidelines. And again, you throw it up and you see it shadow into the sun.
Well, and also, too, the ball gets hit by the wind. When it goes up like that, the wind takes it. There's no movement on the flags, but up here, it's really blowing.
And a timeout by Louisville, I think, before the snap.
They didn't have enough guys on the field. Rod Counsell had to get off the field. And they didn't get the substitution. And State was trying to go. They were telling Beck, let's hurry up and go.
So Tom O'Brien and NC State, they get their timeout. You know, Tom O'Brien, we talked to him yesterday, as you see Steve Cragthorpe, and he graduated from the Naval Academy, and he said September 11th, obviously a special day for all Americans, but he said for those from the Naval Academy, one of his classmates, Charles Burlingame, was a pilot of the American Airlines jet that crashed into the Pentagon. And he said after the 30th reunion they had, which was a week after that, September 11th, devastating day. He and his classmates decided every couple of years they're going to take a trip, not only to honor their fallen classmate, but just to get together, because he thinks it's so important. They're so close, that Naval Academy group.
And that's what he was saying. Guys are gone everywhere and spread out, so they just try to make sure to get together every year and keep it as a ritual.
And he's a man of deep convictions, believes strongly in his Naval Academy roots, loves the Marine Corps, and that's kind of how he runs his shop here.
I said, where are you close to? Are you close to George Welsh and Steve Belichick on the tough end of the spectrum, or down on the bottom a little bit lower? He said, oh, I'm right there with those guys. He said, that's my guys. They'll tell you.
I enjoyed meeting him yesterday and talking with him. Showing blitz, and here they come. Backs hanging in there to the outside. Completed pass to Jamel Eugene. And another first down, 11-yard pickup for NC State.
He's not only a crowd favorite, but also teammates love him. They said he would be the biggest surprise this year because of his ability to do this. Look, whoo, 2 people missed. Now, usually you can make 1 guy miss. That was a great move by Jamel Eugene of getting back inside and knifing for extra yards.
Eugene, another one of those Florida kids that Chuck Amato and his staff recruited so heavily in the state of Florida. Another blitz to the outside, another nice pass by Beck. John Dunlap on the receiving end, close to a first down, 9-yard pickup.
Now look how he's put together. A rhythm now is going. You get a couple of plays where you're making some plays, and now it looks like they're in much better sync. 1 minute and 13 seconds left. They have to keep moving and moving the ball down the field and come away with some points.
2nd down and 2. And at times they look very good. Oh, there comes the blitz. Into the end zone it goes. And a terrific job by Darrell Blackman just to keep that from being intercepted, maybe.
Well, we talked about Darrell Blackman. Could he play basketball? And I saw this last year, his leaping ability. And this is a great job of going at the last second. But look at the pressure. This is 3 straight plays in a row. Louisville is with blitzes. Beck stays in there. Watch Blackman. Wow. And I said, are you the best basketball player on the team? I said, no, we have some pretty good ones. But I said, he said, I'll give myself that credit. Look, at the last second, Council doesn't go up and get it, but Darrell Blackman then becomes a basketball player. He said he averaged about 20 points for his last 2 years of high school.
NC State 2 of 5 on 3rd downs and a timeout. NC State.
That's a good matchup, Darrell Blackman and Rod Council. I like they're going at each other, and that was an opportunity on a vertical play to get Blackman another touch.
Tom O'Brien wondering if things will improve for his team. You know, we talked about the Heisman Trophy we have virtually every week. Brian Brom early was a candidate. The losses they've had certainly hurt his chances. I like this guy.
Yeah, I like him too, but his losses have hurt him as well. But Steve Slayton may have been knocked out last night. And then Ray Rice still going strong. And once again, you have Colt Brennan, who no one gets to see except if you're up at midnight. And then Tim Tebow, Mr. Do-It-All. Can run the football, can throw the ball.
Check out these numbers last week. 646, 601, 555, and they all lost.
I tell you, another guy, though, that should be there, Andre Woodson, is slowly making a case for being in that Heisman picture as well.
Brian Brom, that was a career high last week. Harrison Beck trying to get the Wolfpack on the scoreboard before halftime. That's incomplete.
Bad decision by Beck. He had him open very early. Donald Bowens was open. He sat there waiting. And Beck, for some reason, was tentative in throwing him the football. Then he tried to stay alive, and then Bowens got covered up. See, those are the things that you talk about, a young guy not really quite getting it. And that was an opportunity where you pick up that first down. He had him right away and didn't go to him.
So NC State will try a field goal now of 42 yards. Steve Hauschka graduated in the spring from Middlebury College, where he played his senior year there of lower division of football. Really a soccer guy. You can tell by that style, that's a soccer style.
The ball came out low.
Yeah, it did come out low, but it's good. And the Pack on the board now, 13-3 Louisville. He's 4 for 4 in field goals this season. We're live in Raleigh, North Carolina, home of the NC State Wolfpack. It's ACC against the Big East. Louisville against the Wolfpack. Both teams struggling to get wins. Louisville 2-2, NC State 1-3. Doug Bell along with Charles Arbuckle, Melissa Knowles on the sideline. Louisville hasn't lost 3 straight games since 1997. NC State with a nice home record here at Carter Finley Stadium, which has undergone a transformation over the last 5 years or so. And the facilities here are gorgeous.
They are, and the weather helps today. You know, it makes it just look even that much better.
Yeah, one of the reasons Tom O'Brien and his staff left Boston College and came here. This is one of the fastest growing areas in the country, the Raleigh area. There's the football complex in the end zone. And the Hall of Fame is on the first floor. There's the weight room. You know, all the coaches' offices overlook the field. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, that big S is you can stand there and look at the whole field. The other thing I think, too, is in Boston, it's much more difficult to beat the Celtics, beat the Red Sox, the Patriots. You got so many things if you're a hockey fan. You know, I mean, they got so much there. But you come to Raleigh, what other show in town besides UNC and
sure,
Duke? But I'll tell you, they have put together a nice facility, and they're going to be able to recruit on the resume that they built at Boston College. Matt Ryan is a guy who's not hurting his resume.
Now, the hockey team plays in the RBC Center next door. They won a Stanley Cup title.
I'm saying at the college level, and there's no pro football right here.
Sure. I mean, this is a college hotbed. Louisville, Jawan Spillman gets it up to the 33. 25-yard return. See if Louisville hustles down here with 41 seconds remaining. NC State now 144 straight games. They have not been shut out thanks to that field goal.
Look at the last shutout by Baylor, 1995.
That was pre our man, the quarterback, Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers. To the ground, they'll run out the clock. Brock Bolin breaks it free to the outside, although that's a first down. That probably changes their thinking a bit.
They wanted to get a first down or get some yards, and now they're in a position where they can, let's line up and go deep.
19-yard pickup for Bolin.
Good blocking. Look at that. They're just walling it off, and they're doing such a fabulous job of getting them outside. Mike Donahue and Brino Giacomini doing a good job of just locking up. Eric Wood, the best offensive lineman on the team, really does a good job of getting everybody in position to make the play. You can see right there, now they have a chance to take it down the field.
No timeouts for Louisville. Braum over the middle to his big tight end, gets close to first down. That's Barnage, 9-yard pickup, so he hustles up to the line of scrimmage. Again, Barnage at 6'6", a huge target. Braum spikes the ball, kills the clock with 14 seconds. They have a great field goal kicker. Hey, look at that, huh? Those mirror shades, I thought those things went out about 20 years ago.
Look,
I thought maybe only the state troopers wore those things.
Look at the technology now. You got eye black patches. You don't have to put the stuff on anymore.
Yeah, so, she was ready, huh? The band member?
Yeah, she's ready to go.
Halftime show ensuing there. Of course, the band, the Wolfpack band on the sidelines, getting ready to march. Braum over the middle. Great grab.
Wow.
Trent Guy, what a catch.
How did DeJuan Morgan miss him?
Gotta hurry.
Great job of making the catch over the middle.
25-yard pickup. They gotta hurry. On the reset, they're going to start that clock. They haven't started it yet, so they're catching a break. Here it is. Braum with a spike. Clock never moved. Now it finally moves 1 second.
Look at the catch over the middle. DeJuan Morgan is going to come into your screen, and this is just now Braum is throwing the football down the field. Watch, one-hand grab by Trent Guy going over the middle, who's getting a chance to play a lot because Harry Douglas is out. What a catch. But you also have to say DeJuan Morgan, if he goes over and makes that hit, ball comes out.
Carmody, a 30-yard field goal attempt. This would be his third of the day. Had one blocked. And it's good again. Carmody. Boy, almost automatic. And you notice after that block, he's making a concerted effort to get it up a little bit.
Yeah, he is.
Carmody's been a star for this Louisville offense in the first half. and they run into the locker room. 16-3 at the half. Let's join Mike Gleason, Steve Israel, The Flash, in the Sports Center U studios. Guys, take it away. ESPNU College Football presented by Allstate. Louisville in a dominating performance, 16-3 on top of NC State as we get ready for the third quarter. Doug Bell alongside Charles Arbuckle and Melissa Knowles down on the sidelines. Hey, look, the cheerleaders saying, we can throw the football too, huh?
Yeah, they're Louisville cheerleaders. They have them, all of them throwing the football. Everybody over there.
They got good hands, no question. Let's look at the highlights first half. Ground game for the Cardinals.
Well, you have Anthony Allen, who really got it going. They wanted to establish the running game early with him. Now watch this play. 25, Miguel Scott coming inside instead of outside. That leaves a big running lane. And then you can't have this. The buck has to stop here. No turnovers, guys. No turnovers. -9 if you're NC State. Now you go to -12 on the year. You give Louisville +3. 3 turnovers today.
Our first half stats brought to you by Oxy, and look at the time of possession.
Yeah, well, Louisville's had the ball a lot. They haven't scored every single time touchdowns, but they've come away with something. And clearly, the turnover differential plays into the time of possession as well.
So the Cardinals will kick off to start the second half. NC State certainly still in this football game if they can generate some points on offense. It's been the problem, the one field goal, but the turnovers have just been absolutely killer. This will be a short kick. Blackman. Bust to the outside. Trying to turn the corner up around the 35-yard line. That's a 26-yard return for Blackman.
You know, everybody in America knows now that Blackman has that ability to take it back.
Flag down back at the 24. Another one of those crackback blocks.
You know, Doug, they're going to have hidden plays, meaning special teams have to score, defense has to score. Their offense just is not doing it today.
There's Harrison Beck, the second-year player, the transfer from Nebraska. Those are his numbers. Not bad numbers, but the 2 picks.
Illegal block below the waist, 29 of the offense, half the distance to the goal.
So they'll go backwards on the penalty.
And NC State was in the same position when they played Central Florida earlier in the year. Didn't play very well. And then what happened? They came out in the second half and played a much better second half. They have to do that now. They're not as far in the hole as they were in that game.
1st and 10. Close to the 12-yard line. Back to the ground, Andre Brown. He gets wrapped up around the ankles by Lamar Miles. Let's check in with Melissa.
All right, guys, I talked to Coach O'Brien. He said that the biggest challenge for the first half was that his team continued to turn the ball over, and they've got to do better on third down defense. Now, on the other side of the ball, Coach Crackthorpe said that there's still a lot of football left to play in this game, and they need to score when they're in the red zone. Guys?
That has been a problem and a surprise because Brahms had some open receivers.
Yeah, he has. He's had some guys running free and not being able to connect with them.
2nd down and 8, back to the ground. Andre Brown goes down again, 3-yard pickup. Lamar Miles again on the stop. Miles, again, wears an unusual number, 22 for a middle linebacker. And looking at his weight room numbers there, Charles, I mean, this guy, look at him. He doesn't seem that big, but his bench press, 490. Back squat, 630. Hang clean, 380.
And he had a guy versus Kentucky, 220 pounds. He hit him so hard that a piece of his helmet came out. You could see it on the coach's tape. I mean, he's a lean, mean machine,
boy,
baby.
He is put together. He really is. Back to the outside. That goes out of bounds. Just threw it away. He was hassled inside by Willie Williams. That's the other Willie Williams. That's 92. Willie Williams, number 7, the young man who transferred from Miami after all the trouble and headlines. He was actually kicked off the team earlier this week after being arrested on Wednesday night. So that Willie Williams is still with the team. The other Williams is no longer part of the Louisville football team. The punt now for the Pack. Couldn't generate anything. And this ball will bounce right at midfield and be down right around the 49-yard line. 35-yard punt, no return. Great field position for the Cardinals.
So, Mark, you're fixing me a plate here. Tell me what you got.
We have beef enchiladas. We have refried beans. And Chris has made some pork tenderloin. We also have some Paul Newman's Towering Inferno soup, which has got...
Oh, don't forget the jalapenos.
Poppers, absolutely.
Now, what makes this the winning combination?
Because it's the whole enchilada.
Should I take a bite of the enchilada?
I think you should.
Okay, let me see if it's good.
Enchiladas were good. The Towering Inferno soup was what? Thumbs up?
Yeah, it was thumbs up, definitely.
I mean, this is good
we
stuff.
didn't have anything bad today.
Oh, man, this is great.
The bun was a little bit too done for me, but the hamburger was good.
Hey, back to the ground for Louisville. Once again, Brock Bolin has been a weapon nobody expected. And if you want to make that soup at home after that 12-yard pickup, it's chicken, kielbasa, you got the black beans, the spaghetti sauce, chicken broth, 4 ground peppers, and it's delicious, and you worry about how you're going to feel tomorrow.
It was good. So whatever.
I mean, you know, there's a lot in there is what I'm saying.
Throw the jalapenos in there also. You got to throw those in there, a little spice to it.
Yeah, you want to have one bowl of that. 2 bowls or 3. Ooh. That could cause some trouble, some serious trouble. NC State Wolfpack showing some young number 97, DeJuan Morgan, also coming up. There's big number, yeah. James Martin the second. Let's go down to Melissa on the field.
Yeah, that's right, guys. I tried that soup, and I got to tell you, it had a little kick to it, and it was delicious. I definitely give it the thumbs up.
All right, Melissa, 3 thumbs up then for the Towering Inferno soup. Yeah, she was down there. I mean, she was there when the guy was making it. So she had that smell going early. Another incomplete pass to Urrutia. They just haven't been able to connect yet today.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Urrutia was going against Jeremy Gray, who has the only interception for this North Carolina State defense. We talked about the defense having to make a play if your offense didn't do it or your special teams, and it's got to come somewhere. Pressure from the front, forcing Brown to make a bad throw, because when you're playing a Louisville team, you know they're going to put the ball in the air, but you've got to get them off the field.
Louisville averaging 10 yards on 3rd down plays. And if you look at Brom's jersey, it's perfectly clean. He hasn't even touched the turf today. No pressure at all on Brian Brom. A little bit of pressure. Oh, that time they finally got him a turf flag down in the play. Loose football. Pack says they have it. Let's check the flag.
In the area usually of holding, so if it's holding, the play is going to stand. And the offense for North Carolina State is coming onto the field.
Holding 68 of the offense. That penalty is
George Bussey.
Touchdown.
All right, so the Pack with a big turnover. Watch it one more time. We were talking about Brom hadn't been down to the turf. They finally pressure it.
Watch your left tackle. And you can see there, he's on the outside where the holding call comes. And inside, just a great play. Nice play by North Carolina State, making a nice turnover when they need it at the most opportune time.
All right, let's see if they can turn things around and get a little momentum going. The way of the Wolfpack, Andre Brown over the left side. He was down before he coughed up the ball, gains a yard. And let's check in with Melissa back on the field.
This is the very first time that I've seen the entire NC State team off of the bench and on their feet. I think that may have just been what they needed to get back in this game, guys.
All right, we shall see. It's been one of those seasons for Tom O'Brien and company. As the coach told us yesterday, people didn't know how good Central Florida was when they opened up with Central Florida. Obviously, Boston College, they ran into a buzzsaw when they traveled to BC. Clemson undefeated. Wofford beat App State. This has been one of the toughest schedules in the country so far. And now Louisville. Brown doing a nice job with the right hand because the left hand has that wrap. 4-yard pickup.
You know, he's an effective receiver out of the backfield. They really like throwing him the football. And like you said, he only really is playing with one hand in the receiving game. Nice catch. Reaches back. Now, normally you reach out with your left, but look at this catch. He reaches up. Now, see the ball. Normally he would reach out with his right left hand, but it's banged up. He can't really do anything with it in the receiving game.
Yeah, torn ligaments and a fracture in that left thumb. Actually has a pin placed in there, and he wears that soft cast while he plays. 3rd down. Beck finally some time, and it's a 1st down Wolfpack. Durrell Blackman on the receiving end. 7-yard pickup, first down, NC State.
Well, NC State now is getting an opportunity. We talked about coming on and making some things happen. And Alan Michael Cash, who had his jersey ripped, they had to give him a new jersey. So he came in and makes a nice interception. And now NC State is moving. But the MO has been they'll get some things going and can't keep it quite get going.
There you see Harrison Beck and Luke Lathan, the senior center. And Lathan has done a nice job holding this offensive line together. People don't realize the center nowadays in modern football, they do a lot.
Oh, yeah, a lot more. They have to ID the front, have to be decisive in who the guy they think is coming and relay that to the line.
And Lathan is very good. Get back to the ground. NC State trying to move that clock, get in position for a score. 4-yard pickup. There's Brown on the bottom of the pile.
You know, Doug, and it's more important for a center with a young quarterback like Beck, even though he's a sophomore, he hadn't played a whole lot. So Luke Lathan has to have a lot of responsibility, especially a senior running this offense.
Louisville defense has to be proud of their effort today, but they need a stop now. NC State would love to just keep that defense on the sidelines for a while. Let them rest because they've been in the field the whole game. Beck flushed out and just throws it out of bounds.
Smart play. Great coverage by Louisville on that play. They really did a good job of the flood. Flood routes mean you have all 3 receivers in that area, and they did a very nice job of just taking everything away, and Beck just got away from it. See, you're going to have all the receivers going into this zone area over here, short side of the field. No one there. So he just throws it away. You see all those 3 receivers coming in line. He was looking for someone and couldn't get to it.
3rd down and 7. 3 of 8 on 3rd downs. They've been blitzing on 3rd downs, and they're showing blitz. And here they come. Beck goes to the outside, has his man. First down, John Dunlap. 13-yard pickup. And the Pack getting a little momentum now.
Well, good job also by the offensive line of giving Beck some time and not allowing any pressure. They come with pressure, but it's all picked up. Look inside, all those white jerseys covered. Then he gets a little bit of heat late. Dunlap is a guy that sits in the quarterback meetings because Dana Bible coaches the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. And he also, Dunlap is one of the only ones that comes to all the quarterback meetings to get an understanding of this offense.
Back to Andre Brown. Brown runs out of the tackle, gets down the sidelines, out of bounds, flag down on the play.
Looks like it might be a face mask right as Andre Brown was getting around the edge.
10-yard pickup for Brown. Run out of bounds by Malik Jackson of Louisville.
Watch right at the edge, right when he's getting to the edge of line of scrimmage, right there. And then, but look how he turns his corner. I like when he gets to that leg and he goes. You know, when he gets to that area, he turns it up the field.
So we'll check the penalty.
Face mask, incidental 5-yard face
Incidental
mask.
5-yard face mask. But once again, Louisville, the defense has been awful this season, and penalties, they've shown a lack of discipline in that area.
They really have. I mean, it's been 114 out of 119. That's bad.
Yeah. I mean, that is downright awful. And that's, again, Steve Cragthorpe has talked about that. 3 for 30 today. They just need to get a handle on things like that. Easy to say, hard to do. Back to Andre Brown, running behind that left side. Big Julian Williams, 73 over there, 5-yard pickup. Coach O'Brien doesn't hand out a lot of compliments, but he likes Julian Williams. Said he's a quiet kid, getting better on that left side, and they think he could develop him their best lineman.
He says he's got a mean, nasty streak to him, also. You know, the one thing about Andre Brown, we talk about a home run hitter. You know, he was saying in high school he played out in Greenville, North Carolina, and had 12 home runs his senior year. So he likes to hit the home run with the big play on the field, getting touchdowns, but also he says he's got a mean bat.
But you see those linemen breathing heavy for Louisville. They've been on the field. They're getting tired. Beck's running out of space. Had his guy in the end zone, in and out. Matt Kushner was there, and they couldn't hook up.
Well, in the tight end position has been another problem because you've lost Anthony Hill for the year. He got hurt in July. He was their big-time playmaking tight end. So now you have Kushner and Stone. Stone is a starter, and you see Matt Brom looking for, Harrison Beck looking for Kushner, but he can't quite come up with the football.
Tom O'Brien, is he going to watch this play? All right, the coach looks on.
Because, Doug, you don't get those opportunities often, and when you do, that puts the game at 16-10.
Well, this is big. For NC State, this is big. Let's see what Beck can do. Flag down. Running back moved too soon. Just short of the goal line, but that'll be against NC State. That was Jamel Eugene on the receiving end.
He was moving before the ball was snapped.
Yep. So that'll be 5 yards back. It'll be 3rd and 10 from the 11.
These are the things that hurt you. You score a touchdown, and he doesn't have the hand,
Number 29 of the offense, 5 yards.
One of the things we used to say, the same thing that makes you laugh will make you cry as well.
Well, Tom O'Brien trying to change the whole atmosphere of this NC State program. And that was the problem they said under Chuck Amato. They lacked discipline. And that's one of the main things that he's trying to instill in this program. Mental toughness. And this is where they have to deliver. Beck. Loses the football. And it's Louisville getting another turnover. Oh, that's killer. That is killer. You have to throw that ball away. Lamar Miles comes up with a loose one.
Yeah, big Earl Heyman got around the corner and was able to get in and cause the turnover. Watch 99 come over from the right of your screen. He's being blocked and just has two guys actually blocking him. From the left of your screen, and he gets in there and causes a turnover.
So an opportunistic Louisville defense with 4 turnovers today, and Tom O'Brien looks on and can't believe what he's watching. It's been a tough season so far. His first in Raleigh. Brown back to the ground. Brock Bolin over the left side. Bolin's kind of come out of nowhere. 3-yard pickup. He's had a nice game.
He really has. He's run the ball very effectively and hard inside. And right before the half had a nice, good, strong run.
46 yards now for Bolin.
Doug, you just look at the NC State guys on the sideline, all of them, and they just don't seem to believe that even when they have opportunities, they don't have it in their mind that they can overcome any adversity that comes their way.
There's Andy McCollum wearing the black, the linebackers coach, former head coach at Middle Tennessee. Came on board with Tom O'Brien. Boy, heavy pressure on Brom. We talked about the fact he had not been hit. Last 2 times he really has been hit. That time knocked to the turf. Let's go down to the field. Melissa Knowles.
Now, one thing that NC State is really trying to avoid is more injuries. Tight end Marcus Stone, I saw him limping off the field a minute ago, complaining about his right ankle, but it looks like he's getting taped back up, and it's going to go back in. Guys?
All right, Marcus Stone, a young man. I remember 3 years ago I called a game here against Southern Miss, and it was his first start. He's a team captain, a guy the players really look up to. Does a lot with car stereos. He customizes several players in the team their cars with stereo systems, and this place is getting loud right now as the defense trying to get the ball back. No gain. So Louisville will be forced to punt.
And number 2 is going to be back deep. Willie Young and the rest of the gang there to stop that play. And Willie Young got a start today at the right end position.
It's interesting. Willie Young, another one of those Florida kids. And Chuck Amato, when he was at Florida State, he recruited heavily in South Florida. And when he took the NC State job, he said, we need more Florida kids. Tom O'Brien talking to him yesterday, he said, we need more North Carolina kids, which was really an interesting conversation. That punt goes out of bounds up at the 42. That will be a short kick of 36 yards. Willie Young is fired up for NC State. He still thinks that the Pack could come back. Still lots of time. Willie Young not about to give up on this Saturday in Raleigh. The last time NC State and Louisville got together was back in 1994, October the 8th. They played at the old AAA baseball stadium in Louisville. Dwayne Everett, the interception, goes all the way back, tying the score at 14. Check out the old logo on the NC State helmets. Then Anthony Shellman, second touchdown of the day, rushed for a total of 139 yards. Fourth quarter, Alan Campos, 20-yard fumble return. NC State turned it over 7 times and losing 35-14. Beck again throws it out of bounds on the pressure. And a flag down. That's going to be roughing the passer. L.D. Scott, young man from Auburn, Alabama, just hammered him into the turf.
And Beck stayed down for a little bit. He's going to take a shot. Play fake doesn't work. L.D. Scott stays at home.
Intentional grounding, number 12. He was not outside the tackle box when he intentionally grounded the ball. The penalty is a loss of down at the spot of the pass.
All right, so
second
he
down.
was not out of the,
adding insult to injury. Couldn't get outside, couldn't get outside the tackle box. So he stops the tackles outside and just tries to get rid of the football.
And that's a loss of down, too. So that's second down and 20. And, boy, he got drilled into the turf. Preston Smith was there. L.D. Scott kind of landed on him later. Quarterbacks wear that protector around the rib cage, but, man, that hurts. Beck now has time. Looks deep. Airs it out. He does have an arm. And it's caught. Down at the 14-yard line, Donald Bowens. Boy, he just threw that up. And somehow Bowens came up with it 54 yards.
And Beck comes off the field after he makes that throw. He can't go anymore. His shoulders hurt. So he makes a nice throw down the field to Bowens. I mean, he airs it out. And Bowens just goes up and takes it away. Great job of taking it away from Council. I mean, outstanding throw. This guy has an arm on it.
And after that pass, he ran right to the sidelines.
Right over.
Daniel Evans is in there at quarterback for the Wolfpack after that 54-yard completion. Back to the ground. Andre Brown out of bounds around the 2-yard line. Check that. That's Jamel Eugene. 10-yard pickup, and here comes the pass.
And now you have a Louisville defender on the field. Yeah, and Beck was banged up really badly. He's going to go straight to the locker room. But now you have the momentum kind of shifting. Evans gave him a spark last week when he played against Clemson. Even though the game was out of hand and, you know, it was probably over with at that point, he still came in and looked very well.
Yeah, he is the son of Johnny Evans, the former All-American punter at NC State, who now is a member of the Wolfpack Radio Network. His dad, Johnny, played here back 74 to 77. And that's Whitney Tureen on the sidelines for Louisville. Let's check in with the studio. Mike Gleason.
And Doug, Cal, Oregon, things are finally starting to heat up, and Deshaun Jackson finally found the end zone.
Yeah, Nate Longshore steps back in the pocket, good protection, throws it to a wide open Deshaun Jackson. First touchdown on the year for Jackson.
First receiving touchdown anyway, and then here comes Dennis Dixon, 3 for 4, 59 yards on the drive. Cameron Colvin, touchdown Ducks, 17-10, Oregon on top.
All right, a terrific game out west.
Yeah.
And that place was going crazy today. Beck, they're going to look at his collarbone. First and goal for the Wolfpack. Behind the big offensive line, Jamel Eugene. Inches closer, a 2-yard pickup. Still lots of time on the clock.
Doug, they've been very effective on the right side of that line of scrimmage with Curtis Crouch and Mears Green, Marcus Stone if he's lined up over there. Really trying to run behind those guys and make a move and get in the end zone. You know, 2 yards here, and this game can change. 4 NC State turnovers today and only 6 Louisville points. So they're still very much in this ball game.
Evans is a junior, grew up here in Raleigh. Played for the same school that his dad started at many years ago. Can he lead him in for a touchdown? The handoff going nowhere. Eugene gets stacked up.
Good play by the defense. Deion Palmer just coming in. The big guys take everybody out. Then a little strong safety comes in, and I say little because he's only 5'10", 6 foot, 206 pounds. But he does a very good job of getting a loss on that play.
They're back at the 2-yard line. It'll bring up 3rd and goal. Got the fullback in there, Cedric Hickman. And it's a touchdown, NC State. Beautiful play action fake. And the touchdown to Bradley. No, check that. That's Ced Hickman.
Sneaks out of the backfield. Big fullback. This is the area of the field where the fullbacks and the tight ends come into play. And if your scouting report says go after the tailback, which everybody does, Andre Brown or the tight end, Ced Hickman just kind of sneaks out on that play action pass.
All right, the crowd back into this one as Daniel Evans comes on after the injury to back. Helps his team to a touchdown. And now it's a 16-10 contest. Extra point is good. Hey, don't go anywhere. Lots of time. Tom O'Brien likes what he sees. Coach isn't going to smile. He never smiles. But inside, he likes this. The pack is back. Wow.
Oh, man.
Boy, we've had some great games today. We have a great game here in Raleigh. Louisville is just allowing NC State to stick around, and now they're down by only 6. It's a short kickoff. Trent Guy tries to give it the outside, and he does. Ooh, takes a nice pop up at the 34. 16-yard return. Jets right up and says he's okay. DeAndre Morgan delivered that lick. First half, Louisville dominated the clock.
Yeah, they did.
Second half,
it's a change of the way the thing is going. Also, too, if you look at it, Louisville's first 3 drives were over 10 plays, and the last 5 Louisville drives have been 6 plays or less.
Coach Cragthorpe watching, worrying inside. NC State has certainly turned the tide here in the second half. Brom under pressure, has to throw it away. Didn't see that in the first half. Suddenly they're putting a lot of pressure on the senior.
And if you let a team stick around that hadn't had a lot of confidence like North Carolina State, you think, hey, these guys average 50 points a game. We held them to 16 so far. Now they're putting pressure on Brom. They're really doing a very good job. That front 4 is now getting after it. We talked about how they weren't there. Keith Willis, we just saw him, the defensive line coach. He's really getting guys in there. They're making plays, and they're adding a lot of pressure to Brom.
You saw Keith Willis, the NC State defensive line coach, urging his guys on. Brom 0 for 4 in the second half so far. Now 0 for 5.
And that's why he's not starting today. He's playing Urrutia. But this is what we talk about. He looks like a guy, he gets off the bus, and you're like, man, he's impressive. But then he gets in the game, and especially over the middle of the field, he struggles with catching a pass that you clearly have to have.
Now the crowd is really revved up. Look at those guys. They were quiet moments ago.
Now, when these guys are playing well, NC State, it gets loud in here.
Brom, the senior, from the gun. 12th man, making their presence felt. Over the middle. Urrutia will be short of the first down. An 8-yard pickup.
And Doug, don't you get the sense that the whole defense is moving around? Now Louisville, they've been known to make a play at this. I think they'll punt here. But in the past, with Petrino, they would have gone for this in certain situations. But Urrutia dropping the ball, even though he got yardage on that play, is the reason why now they're punting the football.
Corey Getchie on to punt it away. Gets it away, a high spiraling kick. Blackman fields it back at the 8. Looking for a block, gets it. Is that a legal block? Yes, it was. A flag down up around the 35. Blackman gets knocked out of bounds at the 48. That first block was okay, then later they threw a flag. 52-yard punt, 38 on the return.
He makes you hold your breath. Because he can outrun angles. Look at this angle right there. It's going to be a block. the official there doesn't throw it, but it's going to come down the field. They're going to throw the flag way back.
During the return, illegal block in the back, 34 of the offense, 10-yard penalty, first down.
All right, so that'll send them backwards from the point of the infraction. Not sure where it took place. We're live in Raleigh, North Carolina on a gorgeous Saturday, not a cloud in the sky. Carter Finley Stadium, home of the NC State Wolfpack. Doug Bell alongside Charles Arbuckle and Melissa Knowles down on the sidelines. Louisville Cardinals dominated the first half. Time of possession, they were up and down the field. But NC State, despite 4 turnovers, Louisville scored only 6 points off those turnovers, and now they're just 6 behind. Daniel Evans, the backup quarterback, in for the injured Harrison Beck. Scampering for positive yards. 6-yard pickup for Daniel Evans.
Hey, Doug, and let's think about it also. He's playing against a defense that has not played very well all year. And you got to get excited if you're Daniel Evans now getting in and making the move. And we talked about it at the break. Beck threw that ball as far as he could, and then he had to go right off the sideline. And Daniel Evans comes in and giving him another spark like he did last week.
2nd down and 4. Louisville defense certainly back on their heels. Gaping hole, first down, Andre Brown. Wolfpack's offensive line doing a nice job. 6-yard push that time. For up-to-the-minute news for everything in college sports, log on to ESPNU.com. This online service, a gateway to the best in college sports. All from ESPN, scores, highlights, features, podcasts. It's ESPNU.com, and please log on. Type in your zip code at the top of the page or call your local cable operator or satellite provider if you do not have ESPNU. 1st and 10. Brown again. He's been a workhorse. Breaking a tackle. Surges forward for a gain of 6.
You know, Doug, another thing also with Marcus Stone having a little bit of the injury with the ankle. Now you see Ced Hickman coming in and Matt Kushner. Now they got a fullback that's taking the place, and he's doing a very effective job. And look at this. Now you see a total change in this whole game. Look at that. 116 to 24 yards total. What a change this game is taking.
Oh, no kidding. Cragthorpe worried on the sidelines. 84 yards for Brown. Again, gets close to another first down. Gets tackled high by big 92 Willie Williams. Let's check in with Mike Gleason in the studio.
Well, Doug, Hawaii's Cole Brennan took last week off because of an ankle. He's back, and he's throwing more touchdowns.
First down.
This is his 3rd for the day. Devon Best on the receiving end. 108 down for Brennan, 14 shy of Ty Detmer's record. Colt Brennan to Colt McCoy.
Yeah, Colt McCoy's back in the game also. Looks over to his left, tries to force it in there, and you know it, wrong pattern. Justin McKinney with the pick.
Texas still down 3, Doug.
All right, Mike, keep us posted on that. Wolfpack, 3rd and 1. Andre Brown gets close.
Yeah, well, that official's coming in. It doesn't look like he made it. That spot is going to be awful close.
Louisville defense, much maligned over this first month of the season. Now, let's give them credit. They're hustling today.
They really
They're
are.
getting after it.
And they're not giving up any explosive plays, 20 yards or more, on a consistent basis. They've done a very good job of containing this North Carolina State offense.
Tom O'Brien chooses to punt the football, we think. An unusual formation now. At least makes you think if you're on the opposing sidelines. And there's the punt. Fair catch called for at the 18. Trent Guy, 36-yard punt, no return. Much more tonight on ESPNU 7 Eastern. It's the Pitt Panthers and Virginia, another Big East ACC matchup. 10 Eastern, Southern University against Alabama State. SWAC Conference, all presented by Citi on ESPNU. Let's check into the studio with Mike Gleason.
And we head west, Doug. Cal and Oregon, Justin Forsett.
Yeah, Justin Forsett takes it in all over the middle. You know, Deshaun Jackson gets in. Now their running star gets in.
Tied at 17 up in Camp Randall. P.J. Hill finds the end zone once again. Remember, they're a second-half club. That's when they pound. It's 34-24. Badgers on top of Michigan State.
Mike, thank you. George Stripling goes nowhere. DeMario Presley getting all revved up. Big number 92.
Yeah, great inside pressure also by the linebacker, Ernest Jones, coming inside and really stopping the run. Willie Young as well. That defense is now playing at a much higher level.
Second down. There's Brian Brown's numbers. Second half has not been anything to write home about. They've come after him, and he's been on the turf several times. Here's the blitz again. Has a man. Boy, that was pretty. Patrick Carter on the receiving end. Stopped by Jeremy Gray. 21 yards, and that's a veteran quarterback.
Well, that's why he is who he is. He's able to throw that football, and even without Harry Douglas, they're finding receivers open. Nice touch.
So the third quarter is finally over. A lot of action, and NC State is down only 16-10. If you thought this thing was over, think again. The Wolfpack showing their fangs, getting into it, coming back on the home turf. Welcome back, Brian Brohm, trying to lead this Louisville team. See Charlie Stubbs right next to him with the glasses. He's the new offensive coordinator. He coached with Lavelle Edwards back at BYU, and Steve Young was there, and he's written a book, Developing an Effective Passing Game. I think you got to be a coach to read that book, huh? That's not on my shelf at home.
Well, you have to look at it and really get the principles of what's happening, and you can see that how that helps Brian Brohm, who's moved up now behind Chris Redmond with that last completion.
And those guys were all spectacular at Louisville. From the 39. Braun shows off that arm to the outside. Patrick Carter on the receiving end.
But to follow up on Charlie Stubbs, you know, it makes it nice when you hear about all the guys that he's been with, and saw Steve Young and some of those other players, and how he looks at comparisons and says that about Brian Brohm, how well he plays, how he understands the game, and what he brings to the table.
Says he talks to Lavelle Edwards about once a week, the man who built BYU into a national power. And Lavelle Edwards, interestingly enough, was a defensive-minded guy. He was an old defensive coordinator, but felt he had to run that kind of offense to accomplish things, and he did. Accomplished a lot at BYU. Brohm wide open to his tight end, Scott Kuhn. Boy, look at him put his head down. He looks like Charles Arbuckle in the day, huh?
Well, that's 81. I like the number.
Yeah, 14-yard pickup.
Hey, what they do here is a very good job of using both tight ends. They have the two tight end set, fake there, you come back. You love this play as a tight end because you know you catch it. Look, I want to run someone. Okay, I'm not going out of bounds. Come on, take on the whole team, and you can't get me down.
That was like C-Buck in his UCLA days.
Hey, you got to take them on.
Only difference, you didn't have those blonde locks sticking out of the back of the helmet, huh?
I didn't have that.
First and 10, Louisville now. Trying to seize control of that momentum. Going back to Brock Bolin. Boy, Bolin has just come out of nowhere to have an effective game. 9-yard pickup for Bolin. Harrison Beck left in the third quarter with that separated shoulder. Now he's back with the ice pack. All smiles.
I mean, he slung that ball. I don't know how he got it down there.
That was a 54-yard pass. He completed it after he got jammed into the turf.
And it was all in the air.
Yeah, he's got a rifle.
Yeah, he can throw the football.
Second down. Back to the ground. George Stripling. First down, Louisville. They're on the march, 11-yard pickup. Back down to Melissa Knowles.
All right, Harrison Beck did injure his shoulder, but they're saying that it's not broken, but he will not be returning to the game. And I can tell you, I'm sure that's not what NC State wanted to hear, because that's just another injury. Guys?
It has been a year of being snake bit when it comes to injuries for NC State.
They have Anthony Hill. We talked about the tight end that's gone, Tony Baker, and a lot of them of the knee variety also. But that's a shoulder, and hopefully Harrison Beck can come back pretty quickly from that.
Brohm setting up that screen to the outside. George Stripling scampers into the end zone. Louisville on the board. 20-yard touchdown.
Well, the flag is going to come on that play. I like how George Stripling and Brian Brohm set this up, though. Play's going to come back.
9-yard line, they threw that flag, and it's a hold down the field.
Even though this doesn't count, Brom did a very good job of drawing the defense in and then finally just hitting Stripling with a nice little toss. Watch how he slowly gets there and then just at the very last second.
Oh, there was the hold.
Yep.
Mike Donahue.
Donahue 66 down the field. grabbed, I think, DeJuan Morgan, because Morgan got up clapping.
So Beck's on the sidelines. That ice will deaden the pain. There's no question. You leave that on there for a few minutes and suddenly, and then you don't feel anything. Not a bad game for the young man. First and 10 now, back at the 20. Brock Bolin, right side, breaks a tackle, gets down to the 5, and Brock Bolin, where have you been? 15 yards.
I'll tell you, great blocking up front by Donahue, Giacomini, and they had Scott Kuhn coming over there and Barnage. Look at that side of the line. I mean, no one there. Scott Kuhn gets over there and just really walls that side of the line of scrimmage off. And Brock Bolin came in today's game with 2 rushes on the year for 6 yards, 1 touchdown. He's had a phenomenal game for a fullback.
9 carries, 70 yards. Now playing a tailback. Allen is out of there. Bolin again puts his head down and just surges forward.
You know, nothing fancy from the 6', 237-pound junior. He just gets behind. And, you know, offensive linemen like to block for a guy that doesn't dance. You know, Anthony Allen doesn't either. But right now, Brock Bolin is getting in there. He's just running, finding gaps, and getting through it.
He's breathing heavy, but he's loving it. You've been there before, man. He's getting a chance, and he is enjoying every minute. He wants it again. And he gets it again. Bolin hammers in there, carries the pile to the goal line. Haven't gotten the signal yet. Touchdown, Louisville. Brock Bolin.
Well, that's the one thing that Louisville can do to you. If they struggle in the passing game, they can run this football. And Brock Bolin, good blocking by Joe Tronzo. But look up front. No one touches Bolin until he's about at the 1-yard line. You start with a 7-yard running start. That's 8, 9 yards before anybody touches you. It's going to be hard to bring down a guy 237 pounds.
Well, Brock Bolin stepping in for Anthony Allen, who's on the sidelines. 4 carries, 30 yards on that drive alone. Officials blow this dead before they get a chance to kick the extra point.
Play is under review.
They're checking to see if he broke the plane, so they'll review that. And I'll harken back, Charles, as we look at it one more time.
This tough angle to see. The other official on this side that's coming in from the left did not signal touchdown. This might be a better angle. Did his knee go down? Just a mash of people down there. It's hard to tell.
Looks like he clearly broke the plane, but was his knee down? That's the question.
He's driving his legs. It's hard to tell from any of those angles.
Bolin wants that score. That would be his first TD of the year. Here he goes one more time. Boy, it's impossible to tell.
It's hard to tell from that angle.
But that guy will be ready to go back in if they say it's short. Look at him breathing heavy. That's a great feeling, huh? And it's football weather. I think the play's going to stand because that's inconclusive evidence. Here we go.
After video review, the play stands as called on the field. Touchdown.
All right, so Louisville goes up 23-10. That was his second touchdown of the year, Brock Bolin.
He doesn't get the ball enough, you don't know. I mean, 2 rushes, 1 touchdown, and now he has 10 carries, 11 carries, and he's excited. And they're going to go for 2, it looks like.
Now, smart play up by 12. This will put him up by 14. Remember when NC State had it 4th and a half yard in midfield? Do you go for it there? They decided to punt it. And now Louisville, for the moment, has seized control of this game. Still a lot of time, though. There's the fake. Brom batted down.
Yeah, it's
Big Willie Young.
Yeah, it's hard to get passes over Willie Young. He has some long arms and can really get those hands up. Good play.
Willie Young, 6'4" from Palm Beach Gardens. But look at that stretch. That's more like 8 feet when he gets those long arms up there. No good. Louisville on top, 22-10. Let's go to the sidelines and Melissa.
Oh my gosh, they brought me a funnel cake. I love funnel cake. Now this is what tailgating is about on the sideline, just for me. I'm gonna take a bite. Hold on.
Come on, Darrell! You are!
That's really good, guys.
All right, Melissa, you got a little sugar there on your jacket. Look out. Got to be careful with those funnel cakes. You know, when you walk into Carter Finley Stadium, they have those stands that sell them.
Smell them as soon as you walk in.
I guess the folks watching the game realize we've eaten a lot today. That's been a little work, but we've had a lot of fun. Uh-oh, loose football. NC State will get it at the 24. Jamel Eugene lost that football, then got it right back, and never really got the thumbs up, thumbs down on the funnel cake from Melissa. I guess it was a...
I can give you a... Let me tell you how good it was. So good I had to take my jacket off because sugar got all over me. This is a good funnel cake. Matter of fact, I'm going to finish it right now. Back to you guys.
All right. Melissa working hard on that funnel cake.
She said when we walked in, she had to have some funnel cake.
There's definitely a thumbs up.
All right. Let's see what young Daniel Evans can do. Of course, if you listen to the NC State Wolfpack radio network, you hear Johnny Evans all the time, and they love him around here, a local hero, and certainly they love Daniel, so this would be a great story if he could somehow lead him back today.
The visiting coach has chosen to challenge the kickoff, questioning the number of players on the field to play. Previous plays under review.
All right. So Steve Cragthorpe thinks that perhaps NC State had 12 men on the field. And Tom O'Brien doesn't know what to think about that. You know, we've talked about Tom O'Brien. Let's see if we can count them. Trying to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then you have the 2 returnmen in the back, 10 and 11. I think it was 11.
Yeah, unless there's somewhere on the screen where there's somebody else. That's 11.
That's 11 players. He must have gotten a call from the press box and said, hey, they got 12 guys. Because from our vantage point in that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for Louisville, but it was Cragthorpe who challenged the call on the field. Very animated Steve Cragthorpe.
After video review, it is confirmed there were only 11 players on the receiving team. Therefore, there is a timeout charge, a timeout looking the charge.
See, he's miffed. You can read his lips. He said, I never, ever asked for a challenge. Yeah. I just asked you if there were 12 guys. And the side judge then blew the whistle.
It's 11 guys.
No, it's 11, and you read Cragthorpe's lips. He did not want the challenge, and he's incensed.
Well, because the timeout goes against him when you lose that challenge. You get one a game, and when you lose it, you're done. You also lose a timeout.
At that stage, it made no sense to challenge that. Because you had the ball. You had it down,
they made a good play
inside the 20. So he is ticked at the side judge.
ACC officials, Big East team.
Daryl Harrison is the side judge who called for that challenge. The flip over to the tight end, Matt Kushner. Let's go to the studio, Mike Gleason.
Well, Doug, as we know, Oklahoma upset today, and Texas may join them.
Yeah, Jordy Nelson's back. Look at him following his blockers, hits the seam. He has 4.3 speed. You know, he led all receivers for the Wildcats last year in receptions and yards. And guess what? He's going to lead the team in returns, too. Touchdown.
And Doug, Colt McCoy has just been picked, too.
All right. Keep it up, guys. Lots of action going on. Over the middle again. Wide open. First down, NC State. Donald Bowens had a big game, 23 yards.
Nice throw by Daniel Evans also, getting it where he can catch the ball and run with it. Very nice. He had to come up and make a nice grab on the snap, and then he gets the ball over the field. Look at the blocking up front right there. Good job of blocking out in front by John Dunlap. And then all that stuff over there, hazardous for your health.
Look out. Evans, quick drop to the outside. Nice pass, flag down to the play. They're out Blackman. Another first down for NC State, but we'll check. Could be a hold against the Louisville defense.
Whenever you get the ball in Darrell Blackman's hands, things can happen.
21-yard pickup on that connection. And again, we'll check the call of this ACC officiating crew. Jack Childress, veteran official, and his crew. That goes against NC State illegal shift.
So you make some plays and then you end up hurting yourself. Yep.
He tried to get
Blackman
back.
was moving back at the very top of your screen on the left. He was moving back when the ball was being snapped.
So that nullifies a big gainer for NC State, and Tom O'Brien not happy.
See, those kind of penalties at the time when you come back with a nice play, you have a play set up where you can attack the defense, and then it comes back.
Tom O'Brien was talking about the makeup of his team yesterday. He said, we really want kids who want to be a team player. You win with character, not characters. You can have a couple, but not a whole team of them. Well, he wants a disciplined unit. That's what upset him on that play, because that was a big penalty. Evans the outside, another completion. This time Blackman on the right side. 12-yard pickup. Let's go to Mike Gleason in the studio.
And more, Deshaun Jackson for Cal.
Yeah, Nate Longshore throws the quick out route to Deshaun Jackson, but I want you to see the pause and then explode. What a deadly possession you can have.
All right, watch the ensuing kickoff now. Derek Jones, Andre Crenshaw, the hop to Cal's backup quarterback Corey Smith.
All right, Andre Brown coughs up the football. Let's see if that's a fumble or not. Louisville says they have it, and they do. Andre Brown lost the football. Louisville comes up with a loose one. That's Lamar Miles. And another turnover, make it 5 on the day for the Wolfpack.
And Doug, when they know your hand is hurting, guys see that. They see that cast there. Watch, he gets hit right there. The ball's coming out right there. Yeah, Richard Ragland with a nice hit. Knocks that football out. But he can't wrap up with the other hand. When you get ready to make contact, you usually bring the other hand and wrap up.
Crowd watching the replay. And they want a challenge, and they're going to get it. They think perhaps he was down before he lost the football. Richard Ragland made that hit. And it's interesting, in the press guide under Richard Ragland, the first 2 words, fierce hitter. And that's what he was that time.
Well, another case in point, Andre Brown doesn't really have his left hand. And watch here, he stays with one hand the whole time. Usually guys right about now will wrap. He wraps up, but he couldn't put that hand there. And the ball is coming out. He was clearly up. But you see his left hand never gets to the ball to cover it, and the ball's on the ground before he goes down.
That might have been one of those you react to the crowd. The crowd reacts to the scoreboard, and you just react because it's late in the game, but that was clearly a fumble.
And usually Andre Brown is a guy that's running over people. He gets his pads down, but Richard Ragland was in perfect tackling position to make that turnover.
Again, Tom O'Brien worked with Steve Belichick, Bill's father, and George Welsh.
Perfect tackle, and then you also have Miles coming in.
Has been confirmed. There was a fumble, recovery, touchdown.
It was clearly a fumble. And look at Cragthorpe. Coach K is getting him fired up.
Harry Douglas in there also. Can't play, the guy without the helmet right next to Cragthorpe. 85. The top receiver.
Look at that emotion, Buck. Man, he is into it, isn't he?
He is.
And there's Charlie Stubbs. I've known Charlie a long time. And he loves, he loves being an offensive coordinator. Does a heck of a job. But he's almost the antithesis of Coach K.
Yeah,
Coach K's emotional. Charlie, very calm on the sidelines. He's been calling offensive plays for a long, long time. Yeah, we asked him to compare Brom to what BYU quarterback he reminded of, and he said Steve Young, even though Young was left-handed. Back to the ground to Brock Bolin, who had been injured before this week. And Anthony Allen hasn't had to carry this whole second half. 6 more yards coming up tonight. Pittsburgh, Virginia, right here on ESPNU. Then the SWAC Conference, Southern Alabama State. Saturday prime time, presented by Citi on ESPNU.
You know, Brock Bolin was injured the last 2 games. But it really didn't matter because the first 2 games, he only had 2 carries.
Yeah. He had time to get well, and boy, he's making the most of his opportunity. We're not sure why Allen is not playing. Obviously, Bolin is very effective, to say the least. Look at him just jam a defender forward.
When you have guys like George Bussey going down the field blocking for you, makes it easy. Big 68.
10-yard pickup there for Bolin. Here he comes running downhill.
Coming in your neighborhood, in your house, you better watch out. And then getting around the corner. Showing a real good ability to find the hole. He's patient enough, and watch right here, just bowling behind that line. Big Daniel Barlow, 63, the left guard. Push, good strong push inside, giving him a chance. He's really running at the second level where the linebackers and even the third level the defensive backs are before he gets touched.
Bolin usually the fullback, playing tailback now. Anthony Allen 70 carries first half, no carries in the second half. Bolin's the workhorse, just putting his head down and just running. That's good old-fashioned, hard-nosed football. Man, that gets me fired up watching that. Ray Michael on the stop, another 10-yard pickup for the man.
Well, Ernest Jones comes in and tries to use a shoulder and doesn't get the wrap. Watch Ernest Jones fire right there. Boom. He hits him and he runs right through it. Watch that drink you have at home, because it might get knocked over when this big guy, boom! See, look at him, still moving. Miguel Scott trying to bring, it takes about 5 Wolfpack defenders to bring big Brock Bolin down.
Well, that's fun. It took 4 guys to bring him down, but you know, he's turning. He's got everything going his way. 14 carries, 98 yards for Bolin. This may put him over the 100-yard mark, and it does. Bolin cuts it back, gets down to the 20. 12-yard pickup. Brock Bolin, where have you been? Let's check it with Mike Gleason.
Cal Oregon, Dennis Dixon had a tough one against these Bears last year. Is
doing a good job making great decisions. Doesn't force it. Doesn't have anything downfield after all kind of time. You know what? Uses his athleticism, and he runs for the first down.
That was on a 2nd and 9, and then Dixon on the quarterback sneak takes it in, and it's 24-23, lining up for the PAT.
All right, Mike, thank you. Brock Bolin's getting up rather gingerly. He was banged up the last 2 weeks, and here's his last run, C-Buck.
Joe Tronzo on the end right there on Willie Young. You see that, how they wall it off? I could run through that. I mean, that everybody was blocked off, and then Brock Bolin able to get it down. He came into today's game with 302 total rushing yards in his career. Look at him now, 111.
Look at that average.
Yeah. I mean, but when you have the line blocking for you like that, George Bussey on that side, and you have big Joe Tronzo, your fullback mate, coming over and knocking those guys around. Did a great job there.
Most attempts, most rushing yards for his career, Brock Bolin today. Look at that haircut. He's a throwback. Louisville trying to put this one away. Under 9 minutes. Anthony Allen back in there. We wondered about Allen. Now he's back in there. He goes down after a gain of 1 yard. AP top 10. USC Washington tonight. LSU a winner. Oklahoma a loser. Florida tonight. West Virginia a loser.
California has come back. Look at Texas trailing by 20.
Texas is about to go down along with Oklahoma. And you look down at number 18, South Florida. They're going to be in the top 10 when we call their game next week against Florida Atlantic down in Fort Lauderdale. Florida Atlantic, by the way, lost to Kentucky today, 45-17. To the tight end, Gary Barnage. Takes 3 NC State players to get him down. Gain of only 1.
Good stop there. You know, but Barnes, you know, when they work one way and come back, that misdirection play boot, always looking for that tight end. Martrell Brown looks like he's down now.
Another injured player for NC State. And boy, he takes the helmet off and he's pounding the turf. The rest of that top 25, let's take a look. Penn State lost at Illinois today. That's the big win for Ron Zook, the biggest he's had since he took over at Illinois. Alabama, Florida State underway now in Jacksonville. You got the two late games and Nebraska winner.
Well, that Penn State, too, they lose to Michigan, and now they lose
so they're going to fall out.
Yeah.
So interesting stuff. And Martrell Brown will hop to the sidelines. I'm anxious to find out where South Florida will move to as we call their game next week. And Martrell, good sign there as he jogs off the field. Louisville, only one of their last 7 on third down conversions. They're struggling a bit. But they have the lead on the scoreboard. That's the most important number. Brom straight back to the outside. George Stripling looking for the end zone. Stripling touchdown. 18 yards. And Louisville in total control here in Raleigh.
Well, it's the same play they scored on, and it came back for a penalty because of holding. And that time it was set up nice. Watch Brom and Stripling look patiently looking down the field in the last second, getting it outside, trusting that his tailback is going to be there. Look at the blocking out in front. Scott Kuhn out there, Eric Wood, big center moving around, creating some space for him to run.
Art Carmody on for another extra point. Already has set the NCAA record for most in a career. You see the crowd now starting to file out in Raleigh. Ooh, hooked that one just a bit, but it still goes through. Automatic. Louisville on top, 29-10. The senior Brian Brom. Another touchdown pass. George Stripling. ESPNU College Football, presented by Allstate. Are you in good hands? It was a march to Carter Finley this morning with the NC State marching band. And they were fired up. Great day we've had here weather-wise. It's just been wonderful. And now as the sun is setting, the temperature really feels like football weather.
Yeah, it does. It's cooling off. Nice fall day.
So Louisville with another kickoff. Darrell Blackman, another opportunity. Put his name in the record books. Breaks a tackle. Gets out to the 31-yard line. Flag down on the play. We'll check the flag. And we'll get to find out what that's all about in just a moment. Doug Bell, Charles Arbuckle. It's been a fun few weeks, Buck. Last week at Wake Forest, of course, the construction zone. We wore our hard hats. Today, getting a little food.
Yeah, we got a chance to go out and do some tailgating, get a chance to get some different variety of foods and flavors, so it's been a good day.
It's been fun. Next week we'll be in Fort Lauderdale, South Florida, off the biggest win in their history. West Virginia last night. They'll play Florida Atlantic. Can't wait to go to South Florida.
I can't wait to be there either. I think, you know, South Florida will come in the top 10. Florida Atlantic, we'll try to be happy to knock them off, and, you know, that'll be a great weekend.
And we're going to be on the beach. In fact, are you going to take your shirt off?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I thought you were.
Well, Todd, our producer, has us doing all sorts of crazy things.
One day you were at the sunbathing one day.
Yeah, right. Couldn't stay. So we'll see what happens. Have some fun next week. Nice screen pass for NC State. 17 yards first down. Let's go to the studio for Rutgers update. Mike?
Well, how about a Maryland update? Kareem Lattimore, one of the top rushers in the ACC. Maryland knocking on the door. And Lattimore takes it in unscathed, untouched. 27-17, Terps by 10, Doug.
Wow. So Maryland now on top by 10. Rutgers could go down. Another undefeated.
And that would be an impressive win for Maryland after what we saw last week.
Another completed pass. Jarvis Williams, 2-yard pickup. Look forward to talking to Howard Schnellenberger next week. Even though a loss today, they beat Minnesota earlier this year. And I know, doing some research for our game next week, he really feels this is the most talented team he's had at Florida Atlantic.
Well, you think if all those schools down there can be successful, like South Florida is now coming up as well, why can't Florida Atlantic and FIU in their own right?
Look out. Blitz on the outside. Rodney Natt, flag down. I think he jumped the gun a bit. We got a quick start off that corner, and I think he might have jumped the gun. They had a redshirt freshman out of Jacksonville.
Very top of your screen, right there. Great start. False start. You only get one time to get the false start. In football, you get it, you get a flag.
You look at Louisville's roster. They have a lot of Florida kids, as we've talked about. NC State does too.
Offside. Defense, 5-yard penalty.
It does go against Nat.
Second down.
Aside from the Florida schools, who are loaded with Florida players, Louisville is top 10 in the country, along with NC State for most Florida kids on the roster. Army is number 1, amazingly so.
Wow, and think about this. Howard Schnellenberger, who was coaching at Louisville many years ago, was from Miami and started that. So they've had a lot of Florida guys going up to Louisville, and they continue that tradition.
Evans to the outside. Another completed pass, but that just gets back to the line of scrimmage. And there's Bobby Buchanan, Ray's little brother, on the stop.
I talked to Ray before the game today, and he was excited to hear his brother moving into safety. Ray was a cornerback coming, out of college, and then they moved him to safety in the league, and that's where he had most of his success.
Bobby played at Joliet Catholic up around the Chicago area. A great high school football program. There's a complete to Darrell Blackman. He gets tripped up, but a first down, pickup of 11. Lamar Miles, another stop for Louisville.
In the past also, North Carolina State has done a good job of recruiting kids from Hargrave. You can see Darrell Blackman one, Andre Brown another. There's some kids that have come there and been very, very successful in this North Carolina State program.
Daniel Evans trying to get the pack on the board. Still some time on the clock. Dangerous pass almost gets intercepted. Preston Smith, the former quarterback, now linebacker, knocks it to the turf.
Those changes in the secondary have paid dividends for Louisville today. They've done a very good job of being in position at least to make some plays. They went to zone. They were a man-press team the last few years, and now they said, hey, if we play zone, we can keep the ball in front of us, we can see it and make turnovers. They haven't done a very good job of it up until today's game.
Second down. Harrison Beck on the sidelines with that shoulder injury. Last week hurt his knee against Clemson. And up the middle comes Preston Smith. He gets the sack. And NC State will go for it on fourth down. Loss of 7. Or make it third down now.
Preston Smith, the former quarterback, who's now started 13, had 14 starts now with today's game at linebacker.
Louisville's defense has taken a lot of hits from the media, the fans, opposing defenses, but today they've played hard, trying to keep them out of the end zone here. Batted down by Bobby Buchanan again. Looking for John Dunlap, but Buchanan making his presence felt. I think Bobby's earning more playing time down the road.
Well, when you move inside at the free safety, he's a big hitter. You know he can cover. That's a good move for him, especially when the defense has been struggling.
He doesn't have hair like Ray, his older brother. Ray's got that long hair, doesn't he?
Going with the dreads and cutting it off.
Now, Ray could play.
Yeah, Ray was very fast. Some of the best feet you would ever find in a defensive back. Real good feet. Great makeup speed.
Fourth down and 16 for Daniel Evans. Has time. Over the middle. Incomplete. And Louisville will take over on downs. Evans scampers to the sidelines, and it's back to the drawing board for the Wolfpack, who will go to 1-4 on the season. And Louisville is about to go 3-2.
Well, Doug, if you look at the situation, though, you expected North Carolina State was going to be in a rebuilding mode, and I think the fans here accept that. A lot of people here, so you can tell. We'll talk about that as we come back.
Tom O'Brien and company, what can they do? Not much. It was a packed house earlier this afternoon, but after that last Louisville score and NC State going out on 4th down, the fans are starting to go to the cars and hit the highway early. Louisville known for their passing game, but today, especially in the second half, they went to the running game. It's been very effective.
Yeah, they found a way to get that ball in the right hands, and Brock Boland. Anthony Allen started, and Brock Boland came in and was effective as well.
Boland back in. Remember, he left. His knee was a little twisted there in that last drive.
Well, in talking to the guys over at NC State, particularly Mike Archer, he felt like they would challenge them there. They would really run the football well. They averaged 190 coming into today's game. You see 238 because you'd think, in particular, Clemson had 340 rushing yards. So you go with whatever the film shows you, you go with.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Brom wasn't real sharp today either.
Boland now will try to add on to his career numbers. Over 100 yards, 111 yards for Brock Boland. Let's check back in the studio with Mike Gleason.
Well, Doug, all week long we talked about Dennis Dixon throwing 3 picks last year. Came in 11 touchdowns, no picks. Dixon now, this is his first pick of the 2007 season. Justin Forsett gets his second touchdown. He's got 9 of the year, and Dixon has just thrown his second pick. 2:10 to go, 31-24, Golden Bear.
All right, we'll see what happens. I know Coach Corso wore the duck hat today. And Kirk Herbstreit picked California, which drew a lot of boos from that crowd out there.
Autzen Stadium is one of the loudest little stadiums in the country. We haven't played there before.
3rd down and 9. Brom over the middle. Uridia finally grabs one over the middle and gets the first down. DeAndre Morgan on the stop, 16-yard pickup.
And Uridia looks like he gets pulled down and maybe hurts himself a little bit. And DeAndre Morgan also goes down.
Yeah, Morgan, that's DeAndre. His brother DeJuan also in the secondary.
Now, these crossing routes that Louisville's known for, you see one guy under, one guy over, and the underneath guy is Mario Uridia. Now, you see how he goes down right on top of DeAndre Morgan. See, they're known for that. They either go low crossing or high crossing routes. So you got to run all over the field if you're a defender.
Yeah, they're working out that cramp there.
Well, and Uridia fell right on him in that area.
There's Tom O'Brien, takes the hat off. Tom's daughter, Colleen, is an associate producer at ESPN, and his son, Daniel, is a graduate assistant for Nick Saban at the University of Alabama. He's in Jacksonville today, and his other daughter, Bridget, is in grad school at the College of Charleston. So his kids are down here in the South around him. Colleen up at ESPN in Bristol, but not happy. The coach not happy right now. Going 1-4 as DeAndre Morgan scampers off. He and his brother played at Suncoast High School in Riviera Beach, Florida. That's the same high school as the great Anthony Carter. They have a great tradition down there. Yeah. They've had a good football program for a long, long time.
And isn't it odd how you kind of hear high schools and they're attached to certain players because one guy comes out and he comes back in the summer and says, hey, I'm at this school, you know, this is what we're doing, and he gets to the league and then that guy learns from him. You know, it starts a tradition.
And Louisville certainly has a quarterback tradition. Brian Brom following in the footsteps of all those great guys like Redmond and Ragone, Browning, Nagel, and Johnny Unitas didn't throw that much at Louisville. He really became a passer more in the NFL. But they still retired his jersey as Boland carries again. You know, it's interesting. Boland limping a little bit. Years ago, I was doing a Louisville game, and I had the opportunity to meet Johnny Unitas. And arthritis had really set in, and he couldn't really move his hands too well, but he still shook my hand. And to this day, that was one of the great meets I've had. You know what I mean? Some guys you just remember, and shaking hands with Johnny U, and he had a crew cut at the time. This is a few years ago, and I'll never, ever forget that. What a great guy. I talked to him for just a few moments. As Louisville runs out the clock back to the ground, Anthony Allen. He gets thrown down after a gain of 1. Brian Brohm will not go over 300 yards. He had a streak there, 7 straight. And so 230 today. Not for lack of trying. He just missed a few guys.
He was, a little bit unsharp. He wasn't as sharp as he usually is. But the ground game really kept him in the ball game. And also North Carolina State with all the turnovers as well.
Pitt, Virginia coming up. Dave Armstrong and Coach Gottfried will have the call. Another ACC Big East matchup. We have 4 of those today. And it looks like the Big East is going to win here in Raleigh. Boy, the Big East is up for grabs. I think Louisville will still be a factor. Rutgers may go down today. South Florida undefeated. I don't know who's going to win this Big East.
Well, think about a few years ago when the ACC got those teams and everybody talked about how strong the ACC was going to be, and the Big East just kept on chugging. Hadn't stopped. Miami came into the ACC, Virginia Tech, all those schools that came into the ACC, Boston College, and still, the Big East is still playing some real solid football at a high level.
Coach K, Craig Thorpe, will get his 3rd victory this season. They play Utah at home next week, which should be another high-scoring game. And then at Cincinnati, at UConn, Pitt, at West Virginia, at South Florida.
Murderers Row.
They got some tough road games.
It comes down. They really have to find a way to get that offense going at a high level in order to make some plays down into that part of their schedule.
So a timeout for Louisville. Not sure why, but they'll just get things straight here. That was 4th down, and I guess they didn't want to get penalized for a delay of game. So they'll run one more play, and I'm not sure why they called timeout. Let's check in with Mike Gleason.
And for those of you tuning in for the other ACC Big East matchup, Pittsburgh, Virginia, this is Cedric Pierman, 155 yards over his last 3 games on average. That's coming up at the conclusion of this Louisville game.
All right, Glee, looking forward to that. A busy night, as always, on ESPNU. 4 games every Saturday, and, of course, it ends with the SWAC conference game on late-night TV, which is terrific. Charlie Neal does a wonderful job calling that action. As you look at Tom O'Brien looking on, said it's going to take time. That's what he told us yesterday. Has to get his guys in place. 4th down for the Louisville Cardinals. Brown completes a pass to the outside. Scott Kuhn is tied in. It's knocked out of bounds. 1 second on the clock. 21-yard pickup. So one more snap, and this is in the books. What do you think about Louisville's defensive effort today?
Well, they played a lot better, and also NC State helped them by giving the ball over and turning it over. But much better job of not allowing explosive plays.
There's Tom Jurich, the AD of Louisville. He and Coach Craig Thorpe go way back. In fact, you asked Coach Craig Thorpe the other day, why did you want to leave Tulsa? You did such a great job. I want to work for Tom Jurich.
Yeah, he didn't hesitate.
Yeah, I mean, he really has a lot of respect for the man, and Jurich deserves a lot of credit for building up this Louisville athletic program. And that's the last play, and it's in the books. Once again, our final score from Carter Finley Stadium is Louisville 29, NC State 10. Coming up next, Pitt against Virginia. Dave Armstrong, Mike Gottfried, Graham Bessinger will bring you all the action. For more information, log on to ESPNU.com. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.